Brand disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed by individuals on this platform, the callers plus invited guests, are their own. The information you hear does not reflect the overall views of all parties associated with this brand. We encourage everyone to research all things heard live or via archive for edification purposes. Discretion is advised.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
Hey, faithful listeners and thinkers. My name is Reese Roberts, and I'm the host of a new podcast called Entertain the Thought, now available on SoundCloud and www.reeseroberts.com. The website and podcast are focused on teaching consciousness and human evolution in current social conditions. As a free member on reeseroberts.com, you'll have access to curated content like videos and free book downloads. You can also schedule personal consulting services for teenagers, singles, and married couples. I also offer an enrichment training program that teaches students the fundamental arts of research and debate to increase their knowledge of self. The T-Team is now open for enrollment. For more information, please visit www.serveincorporated.com/register. Again, that's www.servincorporated.com/register. Thank you very much for tuning in to Debate Talk for You Radio.
Today's show is entitled, Is the Oral Torah the MISHNA, TALMUD, or is it Yeshua? I repeat, title of the debate, Is the Oral Torah the MISHNA, TALMUD, or is it Yeshua? My special guests are standing by. Let's jump right into it and introduce them to the world. Here we go. My first special guest, he's been here, the last shot that we had, Messianics on trial. Now he's back debating. This is Eylon. Welcome to the show.
Shalom, shalom. How's everyone doing tonight?
Hey, doing pretty good, man. What's going on, man? What you been doing since that trial?
Oh, man, just working. You know how I do. Studying a lot, really compounding a lot of the studies together with Torah, prophets, Kesuvim, the writings, and everything else. Just putting it all together, man. Getting a little bit in every day, a little Mishnah, a little Musar, a little, different things that we can do to strengthen our midos, our character traits and things of that nature. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how this particular debate plays out. And there's going to be I think it'll be a little fiery too. We'll see what happens. So, but yeah, man, other than that, doing the best I can to keep these mitzvot, the commandments, to the best of my ability. And, that's what it is.
All right, once again, that is Eylon right here on Debate Talk Free Radio. Anything that you want to let the people know, any websites, any YouTube, any information, you can put it out there now.
Sure. Well, with this debate, I do have a teaching out on Andreas Harris' channel, which is Chris Harris' channel, titled The Oral Torah, or What is the Oral Torah? So some of the precepts that you'll hear tonight will be taken from that teaching. I have my own personal YouTube as well, Eylon.r.Ysrael at YouTube, also Facebook as well. But yeah, trying to build up the YouTube presence, trying to build up, as best we can, some of the teachings and stuff that I've done as well. So that's where you can find me.
All right, once again, we appreciate you for being here in Lions Den on Debate Talk Free Radio. My next special guest, he's been doing this thing all over. I see him on Solomon Debate League debating, he's all over the place, making his presence felt. This is my brother Gideon. What's going on, man? How you feeling?
Peace. How you doing, Sal, man? It's a pleasure to be back as always. The originator, never the imitator. And, definitely glad to be here, man. Shalom to the people, man, that's out there listening. Shalom to my brother Elyon as well, definitely.
All right, man. Brother Gideon, what's going on, man? Like I mentioned, man, you've been all over the place, man, putting in some work, man. What's going on with you lately, man? What's happening?
Well, just been studying, and just, whenever the spirit, fills me and tells me to go forward and, kind of get a couple of debates going, triumphing the word of the Most High and His salvation. I just, go and, just converse with brothers and debate brothers and, just trying to get this word out. But as far as like boots to the ground, I'm still building that foundation, and I have a couple of brothers that we are working together with the, it's called the Christian Coalition or the Ambassadors of the Mashiach. It's a bunch of us like-minded brothers who believe that Yeshua is the Savior. And, we're just, just spreading the message, It's a couple of brothers out there, man, that unfortunately are not reading scriptures like plain text reading of it. And, we just out there trying to just, teach and learn. Basically that's it. But, definitely I've been on the Brother Soul of Mine platform. That's a good brother. He opened the platform. And, yeah, so, just been doing that, man. Just been kind of like an Israelite apologist, I guess.
Hey, there we go, man. Hey, well, anyway, you can keep doing the work, my brother. I appreciate you for being here on the Bay Talk Free Radio. Okay, so what's the name of that group? The Christian what? What you got?
It's the ambassadors.
Christian ambassadors. Okay.
The brother Yahweh, because he's the one that's actually forming it together. So I would have to take back to him to get the official name. But I know we definitely got the title ambassadors of Christ in there. Definitely.
Yeah. And real quick, what's the purpose of the the group coming together? What's the purpose?
Well, it's basically been, like I said, a couple of brothers that I want to say dabble in the Old Testament. And, they've been kind of getting a lot of the scriptures confused because I guess a lot of Near Eastern texts been introduced to them, and they're not really interpreting it the correct way. So now, it's a couple of them thinking that, they're Canaanites, which is no problem. But when you go to ascribe into the Canaanite of the Israelite time religion, and their cult worship, then that's when you have a problem. So we just trying to educate the brethren and let them know that, you might not be an Israelite, you might be a Canaanite, because, they definitely also migrated to different areas in Africa, West Africa. But as far as you claiming the religion and the God of the Canaanites, that's when you really involving yourself in folly and basically damning your soul, according to the scriptures. Now, if you're an atheist, you have nothing to worry about, I guess.
All right. It sounds interesting. Maybe we can get them on y'all all together on the show, talk about it. You know what I mean? This new alliance, Yeah, so we'll do that.
This definitely would be a good platform to have it on because, all of us brothers, we are rather bush league when you get the inmates running the asylum. So, definitely, having this platform, maybe we can bring it over here, maybe some type of cross-platform with Solar Vision and, debate talk, you on the blog talk, you on the YouTube. So, and I've been saying you're doing your YouTube thing as of late. So, I don't know, man. I leave that up to the big words.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that behind the scenes. I see we got people standing by, like, yo, let's get the debate started. Okay, we're going to get it started. Once again, is the Oral Torah, the MISHNA, TALMUD, or is it Yeshua? That's the title of this debate. Let's get this thing started. Of course, we always start with an opening statement. That's going to be 12 minutes each. Once we get to the 2-minute mark, you're going to hear this sound. Once you hear that sound, I mean, there's 2 minutes left of your time. When your time is totally up, you're going to hear this sound. That means your time is up. All right, so as agreed over the phone, we're going to start off with Gideon with this debate. Again, it's going to be 12 minutes each for the opening statement. We open up his phone line. Gideon, you can go ahead.
Shalom, shalom. Like I said, want to give thanks to Sal for opening up the platform. Give thanks and praises to the Most High in the name of Yeshua, our salvation, and definitely let's get it started. Joshua 1, start at verse 7. Only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant commanded thee. Turn not from it to the right hand or to the left, that thou mayest prosper where thou goest. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Deuteronomy 30, verse 11. For this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hidden from thee, neither is it far off. It is not in heaven, that thou shouldst say, who shall go up for us to heaven, and bring it unto us, that we may hear it, and do it. Neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldst say, who shall go over the sea for us, and bring it unto us, that we may hear it, and do it. But the word is very near unto you, in thy mouth and in thy heart, that thou mayst do it. Now, those two verses, why did I read that? Well, tonight in our debate, one of the main points of discussion is the Talmud. So when we look at the Talmud, we see it is a corpus of text consisting of 63 tractates that's over 6,000 pages long. This is not only the basis for all codes of Jewish law, but it is the very orders on how to live life. Now, as opposed to the Torah, which is 5 books, and to be specific, the law is contained in 4 of those 5. So we can see that the vast volumes of rabbinic law is definitely not an adherence to Deuteronomy 30, verse 11, which I just read. For this commandment which I command thee this day is not hidden from thee, neither is far off, neither it is not in heaven, neither is beyond the sea, but the word is very close to thee in thy mouth. So we see just by the very breath of the Talmud, we see that it is not going to accordance of Deuteronomy 30, verse 11. So what is the Talmud, to be specific? Well, to be succinct for the sake of time, the Talmud is basically the foundational text for the religion of Judaism, and which contains according to the sages, according to Judaism, which contains the true understanding, interpretation, and ritual specific in accordance to the laws given to Moses on Sinai. In other words, it's basically when the Most High told Moses orally, and I say that hoping I can return to that point, but when the Most High orally told Moses, who orally told the people in Exodus chapter 20, verse 9, in observing the Shabbat, the Jewish sages, they say that additional instructions were given to Moses, which further elaborated on how to properly adhere to the commandment of the Shabbat. 39 to be exact. And that's not 39 laws, but 39 categories of laws, ranging from how to brush your hair on the Sabbath to even how you even make lines with right instruments on the Sabbath. Again, Deuteronomy 30, commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hidden from thee, neither it is far off. Tonight's debate is, what is the oral Torah? The first thing I would like to do is to get an understanding as to what is the oral Torah. Okay, so basically, when we see that the Jews, when they make the statement that the oral Torah is the Talmud, we know that according to Deuteronomy 4, chapter 4, verse 9 and 10. Let me go to it. Deuteronomy 4, 9 and 10. It says, only take heed to yourself and diligently keep yourself. Test you, forget the things your eyes have seen, and lest they depart from your heart all the days of your life, and teach them to your children and your grandchildren. So we see that the law, the Torah, it is what's told to be taught to the children. So what we're going to do is get an understanding of what is the Oral Torah. Then we will make further examination on the Talmud based on reasons why it is not the Oral Torah, according to what I just read in Deuteronomy 4, verses 9 and 10. And lastly, we'll study the teachings and the life of Yeshua HaMashiach and how he is the embodiment and thus the Oral Torah, i.e., the living word himself. And if anyone out there, just like in the sidebar, and if anyone out there says that they've never heard the Savior is the word of God, all I would have to tell them is to stroll into any congregation on any given Sunday. 9 times out of 10, you'll hear it that day. Now, am I saying that church would tell you how he is the word of the Most High? Probably not, but the simple reading of the Gospels tells us this fact that he is. But before I get into that, excuse me, there are a few things I'd like to say. And some things that are going to be said tonight by myself that many can take and twist it. And not even really twist it, but they can take and hear my words without the pretext and use it to say I'm a racist or I'm anti-Semitic, which is very far from the case. So before getting into these things, I would like to pretty much give my pretext or my understanding of the situation that I'm speaking on. In Isaiah 49, Isaiah, when he is speaking to Israel, he tells them that a sign will not only be given to the Israelites, because that's a small thing for him to do, but he will be a horn of salvation to the Gentiles as well. And we also see the continuation of that in John 3:16, when the Most High says that for Yahweh so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, and whoever believes on him shall have everlasting life. Now, what I'm saying is that the Talmud is not in accordance with the Torah. That's what I'm speaking on. Never at one time will I tell a Jew, Ashkenazi, Sephardim, Mizraim, a Chinese, Japanese, or any other person. Never will I say or never will I deny them the right, even I don't have it. But I would never deny them the right, saying that they can't have the salvation of Yah. Or as I stated, all under the sun are not excluded based on the fact of their race. But the Talmud and the religion is not of the Most High. So that's what I'm speaking of. So if any attempt made by anyone to place those labels on me of being an anti-Semitic or any anti or phobic to anything, my position, as just stated, shows that those assertions will not only be false, but they'll be done with malicious intent. So back to the basically what I wanted to get to. So like I said, we're going to look at and see what is Oral Torah. The Oral Torah is found nowhere in the Bible, that phrase. Therefore, it is a concept. Judaism says the oral law is the Talmud. But just because a person says something does not make it true or believe. And no one understands this before I say this. The majority or the average Jew has no idea of what's actually all included into the Talmud. But the average Jew, if you was to ask them, through the rabbinic teachings, they would tell you that eating cheese and meat is a sin, which is false. So just because they say something, don't make it right, because eating meat and cheese is not against the law. So when Judaism says the oral law is Talmud, I say no, but I will continue with my evidence. But in the name of objectivity, let the term oral Torah define itself. Oral Torah, like I say, not found in Torah, is a compound word meaning oral, which is an adjective, by word of mouth, spoken rather than written. Torah, it's a noun. The law of Yahweh as revealed to Moses and recorded in the first 5 books of Moses. So by definition, which is what we must go by since it's not in the Torah, so by definition, the word oral Torah is the spoken by the word of mouth law of the Most High as revealed to Moses. I'll say that again. The oral Torah is the spoken by word of mouth law of the Most High as revealed to Moses. Now let's put these guidelines and parameters next to the Talmud and see what the conclusion would be. The oral Torah of Judaism tells us in Midrash Sidrei, in its breakdown of Deuteronomy 5, verse 34, that if the rabbis, and 534 is saying, do not deviate from the left or right. But the rabbis in their Midrash of the Talmud says to go left or right. In contrast to Yahweh, you go left or right. Additionally, in Sanhedrin 77:8, it informs the reader that if a rabbi were to tie a goyim, which is a person that is a non-Israelite, and bound him to the extent he dies from starvation, that priest or that person is not blood liable, or he's not responsible for the debt of that person. The rabbi is not held accountable. Even the famous chapter of Ezekiel betrays this fact. But before we go to Ezekiel, let's listen to what Isaiah 29 says. Isaiah 29, verse 13. Isaiah 29, verse 13 reads as thus. Thus says the Most High, their fear toward me is taught by the commandments of men, but they have removed, but inasmuch as their people draw near with their mouths and honor me with their lips, but have removed their hearts far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the commandments of men. Basically, what he's meaning in this context, when we look at Ezekiel, like I say, Ezekiel 18, notice in verse 1 it says, where do you get this saying from? The children's teeth are set on edge. Because when we go to Deuteronomy 24:16, it tells us the child shall not be put to death for the father.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
All right, family, for those of you that just joined in, today's show is entitled, is the Oral Torah, the MISHNA, TALMUD, or is it Yeshua? Number to call in 319-527-6239. This debate just started. We're still in the opening statement part of this debate. By the way, family, I have a new group on Facebook. If you want to join, just go to Facebook and type in the search box, all one word, Mr. Sal Showtime. That's Mr. Sal Showtime. And check out the content. We have the schedule of the show. In that group, we have exclusive merchandise, things of that nature. Join the family. If you like Debate Talk for you, make sure you join the group and show your support. I'm going to leave the link in the description box, of course, make it easy for the YouTubers out there and everybody on Blog Talk Radio. But make sure you join and subscribe and join the family. All right, so let's go to Eylon. He has 12 minutes each and open his statement. Go ahead.
Bashabach Vatihila Nabore Olam. Praise and glory be to the Creator of the universe. I would first like to give honor to my Creator, the transcendent one, the omnipresent one, Yah, the Holy One of Israel, who is most holy and whose name is holy, and who thought it necessary to transmit the gift of His holy Torah through the prophet Moshe, our teacher, peace be upon him. I would also like to give honor to my earthly creators, my father and my mother, for without them, you, the listening audience, would not be able to receive the information you will hear tonight. As for who I am, Ivri Anochi Eth Adonai Elohei Hashamayim Ani Yoreh Asher Asa Eth Hayom V'Eth Hayabasha. Hi Adonai Ki Eth Asher Yomer Elohai also Addeber. I am a Hebrew, and I fear Yah, Eloah Shemayim, who has made the sea and the dry land. As Yah lives, what my Eloah says, that is what I will speak. And I come to make the crooked path straight and to set apart the clean from the unclean. And so tonight's debate isn't whether or not we agree with what's contained within the Talmud. The title of the debate is, what is the Oral Torah? Is it Yeshua, or is it what we have written and preserved by the sages of favorable memory? Very interesting that my opponent would choose Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 11 through 14, because I'm sure he also agrees with John chapter 1, verse 1, which says, basically, in the beginning, the Word was made flesh, and he believes that JC or Yeshua is the Word made flesh. So he believes that he is the Torah made flesh, and he also believes that he's the oral Torah made flesh. Let's read that again. For this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not hidden from you, neither is it far off. Last time I checked, JC, Yeshua, is in heaven. Let's read verse 12. It is not in heaven. Yeshua is in heaven, but the Torah is not in heaven. That you should say, who shall go up for us in heaven? Why? Who should JC go up into to heaven for us and bring it down to us that we might hear it and do it? Neither is it beyond the sea that thou shouldest say, who shall go over the sea for us and bring it unto us that we may hear it and do it? But the word is very near to thee, in your mouth and in your heart, that you might do it. So, if nothing else, that destroys the argument and the topic of this debate, because Yeshua is in heaven according to the New Testament and seated on the right hand of God the Father Almighty, or whatever you want to sing after that. But that's where he is. The Torah is here. And the question is, how actually do you write a Sefer Torah? How is that done? Am I supposed to ask Yeshua how to do that? I think not. So what is the oral Torah? It is not the New Testament, and it is not Yeshua. I can ascertain that the vast majority of the listening audience keeps certain aspects of this so-called oral law in one way or another. The same oral law that was present during the time of the New Testament, but for whatever reason, people like to demonize and marginalize it as if it is some type of wicked document void of any godliness, when in reality, the real catalogs of law, which are void of any righteousness, are the laws codified by Christians, Muslims, and other Gentile secular groups that directly oppose the written and oral Torah. The oral Torah, Torah Ba'al Peh, literally, Torah, which is by mouth, represents those laws, statutes, and legal interpretations that were not recorded in the 5 books of Moshe. The written Torah, Torah Shebechtav, Torah, which is in writing, is the physical 5 books of Moshe. Everything goes back to the Torah. Everything must supplement, and enhance Torah. This is something that people don't really realize. We don't view the Talmud or the Mishnah as above the Torah. It is a supplementary text. It is a text that should be studied in order so that we can better fulfill the commandments that are within the Torah. And it's very interesting that my opponent said that the oral Torah, or the term oral Torah, is not in the Torah. Well, let's take a look at Deuteronomy 17. I'll read it in English for brevity of time. If there arise a matter, I'll start at verse 8. Deuteronomy 17, verse 8. If there arise a matter too hard for you in judgment, between blood and blood, between plea and plea, and between stroke and stroke, being matters of controversy within your gates, then you shall arise and go up into the place which Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, your Elohah, shall choose, and you shall come to the Kohanim and the Leviyim, and to the Shofet, the judge, that shall be in those days, and inquire, and they shall show you the word of judgment, and you shall do according to the sentence which they of that place which Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh shall choose, shall show you, and you shall observe to do according all that they inform you. Now this is a commandment in the Torah. Now let's look at verse 11. According to the sentence. Hold on a sec. Let's take that back a little bit. According to the oral Torah, which they should tell you. Let me read it in Hebrew. Al-Pi HaTorah. Remember, I just told you that the oral Torah is called Torah Sheba'al Peh. Al-Pi HaTorah, this literally translates Torah, which is upon the mouth. It literally translates to that. Deuteronomy 17, verse 11, literally says,
according to the oral Torah which they shall teach you, and according to the judgment which they shall tell you. You shall do, and you shall not decline from the sentence which they shall show you to the right hand nor to the left. So it's very interesting that he would say that this is not in the Torah. It's obvious he does not read Ivrit, which again is an oral an oral law passed down by father to son all the way through and later written down. Guess what? In the Mishnah and in the Talmud. So according to Hebrew tradition, the oral Torah was passed down. What my opponent is going to try and tell you tonight is that somehow 4,000 years of written interpretation and practical application of Torah commandments is done away with when a man claiming to be God in the flesh comes around trying to make his own oral law through his new religious cult following. Interesting that one of his so-called eyewitnesses records Yeshua in Matthew 23, 1-3, saying, "Then spake JC to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees," which another word is judge, "sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not after their works, for they say not and do not." So very interesting that, again, we have a reference from the Christian God, the Christian rabbi, which again is another term only found in the oral Torah. The Christian rabbi tells you to listen to the scribes and the Pharisees. Funny how the Torah and the pagan New Testament are telling you to do the same thing for once, right? But no Messianic actually obeys Yeshua anyhow, so it doesn't really matter. You see, the reason why most Christians and Messianics don't want to keep the commandments correctly is because they can never measure up to Yeshua, who they view as sinless. Since Yeshua is perfect and their righteousness is as rags, why even try? Because, he can come and return at any time, so there's no need to prepare for the next generation or read those complicated oral laws or learn Hebrew to pass it down to your children. Yeshua will reveal it to us. Oh, or was that the Holy Ghost's job? Was the Holy Ghost going to teach you all things, or was Yeshua going to reveal to you all things? I don't know. You tell me what your New Testament tells you. What I do know is that Messianics do not keep the commandments of the Torah, especially Deuteronomy 17, which I just quoted, which clarifies the mixture between meat and cheese. Messianics do what they want to do. They make up their own halakha, their own rules, and their own regulations. They have their own method of interpretation, which I define as doing what is right in your own eyes. And this is why there are over 30,000 variations of Christianity today, where the so-called Messianic Israelite, quote-unquote Messianic Israelite, is only the latest mutation of Catholicism. Oh, boy. But before I go into disproving my opponent's claim about Yeshua, let's look at some theoretical proofs of the real oral Torah. Rabbi Yosef Albo, in Sefer HaKarim, chapter 3, verse 23, offers the following philosophical proof for the existence of an oral law. Rabbi Albo states that a perfect text must, by definition, be totally ambiguous and not require any additional information to be understood. Since the Torah is called perfect, quoting Tehillim or Psalms 19, verse 8, the Torah must not have any ambiguities. However, it does have ambiguities. For example, the verse in Deuteronomy 6:4, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, is understood by Yehudim to imply absolute monotheism, while it is understood by Christians to imply a trinity, or by some Messianics to mean a duality, meaning that JC is God, and there's no trinity, but just JC is God. How can a perfect Torah contain ambiguity? Only if the Torah includes an oral explanation that clarifies all ambiguities can it be called perfect. Therefore, Rabbi Albo states that there must have been an oral tradition transmitted along with the written Torah. Let's look at Bereshith, chapter 1, verse 1. Bereshith, bara Elohim es hashamayim ve'es ha'ores. At first, Elohim created the skies and the land. But hold on a sec, you can't translate or interpret this verse unless someone said that this is what these letters put together mean. So let's define some more terms before my time runs out. Who wrote the Mishnah? Mishnah was written by Yehuda Hanasi in the year 200, between 200 and 220 CE. And it was written because after Ezra, peace be upon him, returned from the land of the Babylonian captivity, the court reconvened and continued to take minutes of their proceedings. These minutes or cliff notes
that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Radio.
All right, once again, the number to call in, family, is 319-527-6239. As always, like I say, take down your notes, family, take down your notes on both sides, and make sure you study all the information that you hear on this program. Today's title is the Oral Torah, the Mishnah, the Talmud, or is it Yeshua? And again, this is the show for the new listeners out there. This is the show where you can actually call in live by dialing the number 319-527-6239. Press number 1 and stand by for the public Q&A where you can ask your questions live on this program. So let's jump into the first rebuttal part of this debate. That's going to be 10 minutes each. Let's go back to Gideon. Go ahead, Gideon.
All right, real quick, I just want to say this real fast. There's this joke because the Jewish people, with all respect, no type of way I'm trying to say it in a slanderous way, but the Jewish sages had a joke, and it was, and the brother can probably elaborate and tell me the person exactly, but this Jewish rabbi basically was in a room with other Jewish rabbis, and he said, while they were going over scriptures or what have you, the Most High told him something, and the other rabbis told him, well, basically, we don't believe a voice that you hear. So in that same room, the walls came down after the rabbi said, Lord, if you're listening to me, please take down the walls. The walls came down. They still said, we don't believe that was him. So basically, he did like 2 more miracles to show explicitly that was the Most High that did that. But the Jewish rabbi said, we don't listen to God when we speak of the Talmud, so to speak. Like, we don't listen to God in these proceedings. So if the brother want to deny that, he can, or if he can, make some adjustments to it and speak on it clearly, that would definitely be welcome as well. So I say that because I want to go into, when he went to Deuteronomy 17, verse 11, as far as when I said there is no phrase called the Oral Torah in the scripture, which there isn't. The brother went to Deuteronomy 17 and 11. According to the sentence of the law in which they instruct you according to the judgment. So basically, when we see that word sentence, that's the word, and I'm quite sure he knows the exact pronunciation of whichever term of Hebrew he studies or he speaks. The word is pay, and it's nothing orally about it. It's according as after, appointment, assent, collar, or a commandment comes from the mouth. So, like I say, the way what we have in yeshivas is, and the yeshiva is a school of study of the Talmud. What they basically do is they pour over the law and the commentary passed on by the sages in regards to the interpretation of that law, and they argue those texts. So basically what we have in Deuteronomy 17 and 11 is a twisting of the text, and further along in the debate, I definitely show how that is a twisting of the text. So the brother said, how is Yeshua the Oral Torah when Yeshua is up in heaven? Well, what my brother has to understand when we read in Genesis 1 that in the beginning Elohim created the heavens and earth. Elohim said, let us make man in our image. So when we go to the Torah and not the Talmud, We can see that in Isaiah 48. Let's go to Isaiah 48 and see who is this us. Now, in Isaiah chapter 48, what we're reading is the Most High speaking through the mouth of this prophet, Isaiah. And in the midst of when he's saying, "Thus says the Most High," when Isaiah is speaking of the Most High, this is the person who created the universe that is speaking, the Most High. So this is what he says. He says in verse 16, he says, "Come near to me, hear this. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning, from the time that it was, I was there." So we see that this person that is speaking, he was there from the beginning. Okay? And now Yahweh Elohim and his spirit have sent me. So upon the full revelation of Yeshua HaMashiach and the speaking of him in the Old Testament, we see that in the beginning, Yeshua was with Yahweh, because Yeshua comes from Yahweh. He is Yahweh Elohim. Let's go to John 1:1, because the brother asks, how is Yeshua the Word? And like I just said, Yahweh Elohim is Yahweh the Father, Yeshua HaMashiach, and the Ruach HaKodesh. And we clearly see the Ruach HaKodesh, according to John 15, is still with us. I'm sorry, John, I think that's going to be not 15, but 14, verse 15, starting at verse 15. When he goes to the Father, the Ruach HaKodesh come down, and it dwells with us. So Yahweh is still with us, my brother, according to the text. So the brother asks, how is Yeshua the Word? So let's see. The Savior, when he was tempted by the adversary in Matthew 4:4, his rebuke was that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceed out of the mouth of the Most High. So when we see that in John 1:1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, we see that the Word is the Most High. So we must ask ourselves, who is this Word? Well, if we go to the revealing of Yeshua in Revelation 19, states that, matter of fact, let me go to it. Revelation 19. Let's see what Revelation 19 says. Let's go to 13 or 12. It says, his eyes were like, and this is, who is the Word? His eyes were like a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. He had a name written that no one knew except himself. He was clothed with a robe dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. That's Revelation 19, starting at verse 12, going to 13. So we see right there that a clear picture, clear reading of the text, that Yeshua is, in fact, the oral Torah, my brother, in its strictest and literalist definition. Now, this is also what I want to do. I want to go to Isaiah 45 and 22, because the Talmud, which the brother has yet to say, is not the word of the Most High. And as we see that the word of the Most High definitely is found in the Torah. According to John 1:1, Yahweh, which is the Word, and the Word was with the Most High, and the Word was the Most High. So let's go to Isaiah 45. I want to start at verse, let's see. Isaiah 20, start at 22. It says, look to me and be saved, all ye ends of the earth. For I am Yahweh, and there is no other. I have sworn by myself, the word has gone out of my mouth in righteousness. So we see right there that the word of the Most High comes from. And let's go to Psalms 23. We go to Psalms 12, what it tells us about this word. It says the word is pure. But let's see what the words of the rabbis and the priests was according to the text. let's see. Let's go to, for one of those, let's go to Jeremiah 23. Jeremiah 23. To see what, because what the brother was saying, there's basically jurisprudence that's contained within the Torah. The interpretation of the law based on actual cases. So let's see what these judges and these priests and these holy men were doing during the time of the so-called construction of the Talmud. Jeremiah 23, let's go to verse 23. Start at 33. I want to go even above that. It says, verse 33. So when these people or the prophet or the priest ask you, saying, what is the oracle of Yah? You should say to them, I will even forsake you, says Yah. As for the prophet and the priest and the people who say the oracle of the Lord, I will punish the man in his house. Let's go up to verse 30. Let's go to 11. Profane. Yes, in my
All right, now listen to Debate Talk for you. The number to call in, 319-527-6239. By the way, you can email me, family. Email me at debatetalkforyou@gmail.com. That's debatetalk, the number 4, and the letter U @gmail.com. If you still have questions, but you don't want to call in, but you still want your questions answered, send me an email, debatetalkforyou@gmail.com, and I'll gladly read your questions during the public Q&A segment. However, call in, 319-527-6239, press number 1. You can still hear the debate in its entirety, but when you press number 1, that lets me know if you have a question later on for the public Q&A. But let's go to Eylon, still in the first rebuttal, 8 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes each. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I never said that the Talmud was the word of the Most High. The title of the debate is what is the oral Torah. Okay, so if there was something given orally and transmitted throughout the ages, it ceases to be the word of the Most High, and it begins to become tradition based on the word of the Most High. Okay, let me explain this very quickly. The oral instructions that were given on Har Sinai actually consist of only 31 laws. And they're simple things like how to make a mezuzah for your doorpost, how to make tefillin, or phylacteries, how to write an actual Torah scroll, which, as a side note, Paleo-Hebrew or Assyrian script can be used, by the way, and minimum measurements for weights and balances. And all of these laws were later recorded in the Mishnah. Okay, so could it be word for word what we heard on Har Sinai? Not necessarily word for word, but these 31 concepts is what finds their way into the Mishnah. And they're universally acknowledged and unanimously agreed upon. And the melanated sages of the Mishnah and the Talmud have no disagreements about halachos of Moshe Sinai or the halakha from Mount Sinai. But you're taught that the rabbis always disagree, and that is another Christian lie. Going back to the brother's comment or the joke about the rabbis don't listen to God or anything like that, I've heard that particular statement before, and the proper understanding of that is once we're past the time of prophecy, once the court is no longer appointing prophets according to our oral tradition, there ceases to be viable prophets in the land. And so, if you're saying that we don't listen to God, it's not that we don't listen to the Torah or anything like that. It's that in this day and age we don't have the gift of prophecy, at least not as it was in the time of the writings of the prophets.
I'm going to go back to Deuteronomy 17, verse 11, because you're not hearing what I'm saying. And you cut yourself very, very, very simply with this. The very first few words of Deuteronomy 17, verse 11, Al-Pi HaTorah, and you already stated it's a commandment from the mouth. It's a commandment from the mouth. Al-Pi HaTorah. According to, Al means according to, Pi means, like you said, a commandment from the mouth, HaTorah. According to the oral Torah, which they shall teach you, and according to the judgment, which they shall tell you, you shall do. You shall not decline from the sentence which they tell you on the right hand or to the left. This is in the written Torah. This is not rabbinic commentary or anything like that. The written Torah says whatever they tell you that's coming from the Torah, the oral Torah, you shall not go from the right hand or to the left. And the man that will do presumptuously and will not hearken to the priest that standeth to minister before Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh, your Eloah, or to the judge, even that man shall die. And you shall put away the evil from Yisrael, and all the people shall hear and feel and do no more presumptuously. Al-Pi Torah, Torah Shabbat Al-Peh. It's the same construct words that are being used here. All right, and you wanted to look at Bereshith chapter 1, verse 1, or the chapter 1, and it says, let us make man in our own image. And again, you cut yourself when you went to Isaiah 45 and 22. It says, look to me, singular, and be saved, all you ends of the earth, for I, singular, am Eloah, and there is no other. There was no one with the Creator when all was created, period. And if we see the word Elohim used as a proper noun, as a proper name, understand that this is just the majestic plural being used for the name of the Creator. Actually, the name of the Creator is Eloah. And Eloah ends with the letter He, which is a feminine ending, if you know anything about Hebrew. Very interesting that we use the feminine ending when we say Eloah, but when we want to give the Creator double honor, double respect, increased greatness, we give him the masculine ending, im, Elohim. So the one of the names of the Creator, Elohim, is not just masculine, but it is also feminine. But he is also neither physically feminine or physically masculine, because he has no form that we can ascertain that the Creator of the universe has. Very interesting. Let's look at some precepts for the oral laws given at Har Sinai, given at Mount Sinai. Let's make this very clear. Vayomer Adonai al Moshe aleh elai ha'hara v'haya sham v'atana lecha af luchos ho'avan v'hatorah v'hamitzvah asher chasavti l'chorotham. This is Shemoth, or Exodus, chapter 24, verse 12, which reads, And Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh said unto Moshe, Come up to me in the mount, and be there, and I will give you the tablets of stone, the Ten Commandments, and the Torah, and the commandments, which I have written, that you might teach them. What was given to Moshe, Rabbeinu Alahu Shalom? He was not just given the Ten Commandments, the tablets of stone. He was not just given the Torah itself. He was also given the mitzvah. Af luchot ha'avan v'hatorah v'hamitzvah. When it says mitzvah here in this verse, it means the understanding of how to keep the Torah. Oral Torah. We skip down to verse 18 and it says, And Moshe went into the midst of the cloud and got him up in the mount, and Moshe was in the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. What do you think that Moshe Rabbeinu Alahu Shalom was learning for 40 days and 40 nights? Again, oral Torah from the Creator himself that we have remnants of today that were passed down and that are codified in the MISHNA. Let's go to Vayikra, Leviticus 26 and 46. These are the statutes and judgments and Torah, or instructions, plural, which Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh made, not Yeshua. The Creator made these judgments. The Creator made these Torah. Wahamishpat, wahatoroth, plural. Judge statutes, plural. Judgments, plural. Torahs, plural. JC's not there. The rabbinical court, in fact, has only instituted 7 actual commandments which neither add to or subtract from the Torah, because all of them are either spoken by the prophets, alluded to in Scripture, or agreed to by the entire nation during some pivotal event where the Creator manifested His divine will. And I'm going to count these for you. There's only 7 rabbinic commandments. Everything else is commentary on how to keep all of the 613 commandments. Okay, these are saying Hallel, which is Psalms 113 through 118. I don't think there's anything wrong with saying Psalms at certain points in time. Giving brachot, or blessings, exaltations, and this includes how to pray correctly, which is just praising the Most High. I don't think there's anything wrong with praising the Most High. Washing your hands before eating, before prayer, before Torah study. I mean, I don't think you want to get fingerprints on any Torah scrolls. I think you want to come to the Most High with clean hands, like it says in Psalms. I've washed my hands in innocency. Before eating, because we're not a bunch of animals here. We are actually civilized people who actually wash our hands before we eat. And Eruv Shabbat. Number 5, we light Shabbat candles to delight ourselves in the Shabbat. And this is based off of Isaiah chapter 56. You should delight yourself in the Shabbat. That's where that comes from. The 6th one is Purim. The whole book of Esther talks about Purim. And the 7th one is Hanukkah. And we all love the story about the Maccabees and how we got the desolation, the abomination of desolation out of the temple. Everything else in the oral Torah is simply commentary, again, and rulings on how to perform all of the commandments correctly through simple if or then statements from one
All right, we have an alliance then. Gideon versus Eylon. Is the oral Torah the MISHNA, TALMUD, or is it Yeshua? That number to call in, 319-527-6239. We appreciate everybody on social media that's checking out the show in a group. If you're an insider group listening to the show, do me a favor, share to your personal page. Let people know that Debate Talk for You is live on the air, and they can call in with their questions and their comments, 319-527-6239. So let's jump into the second rebuttal part of this debate. That's going to be 8 minutes each. We're going back to Gideon. Gideon, go ahead.
Okay, I want to go to Ezekiel 22, and I want to start at verse 23. And the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, Son of man, say to her, you are a land that is not cleansed, or are a land that is not cleansed or rained on in the day of indignation. The conspiracy of her prophets in her midst is like a roaring lion tearing the prey. They have devoured the people. They have taken treasure and precious things. They have made many widows in her midst. Her priests have violated my law and profaned my holy things. They have not distinguished between the holy and the unholy, nor have they made known the difference between the unclean and the clean, and they have hidden their eyes from my Sabbaths, so that I am profane among them. So these are the very same priests that my brother is saying, giving us the Talmud. And like I said, you know, the Talmud has a lot of verbal and oral acrobatics in it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to say it like that because the brother said he never said the Talmud is the word of the Most High, but the oral Torah is by default the word of the Most High. So basically he's saying he knows that the Talmud is not the word of the Most High, but it's the oral Torah. That's a contradiction. But then again, he said it's never the word of the Most High, but he said Moses was on a mountain for 40 days getting it from the Most High. So is the Most High speaking words that's not his? like I say, they're very. I mean, the tradition of the rabbis is to debate, is to argue, is to lawyer, is to adjudicate. So, basically, that falls kind of like on deaf ears, that statement that he made. I heard that. Okay, so let's see. The brother, like I stated, the brother said the oral Torah was given to Moses, because the Most High, only gave him the Ten Commandments. Everything else was orally, so that had to be, something that was passed down because, he's reading the text. But once I get to speak with the brother one-on-one, we can definitely get some clarification, or I can show you that it's not true what he's saying. So when the brother made the statement, he said that Yeshua there, which is, apart from the subject. But if the brother was to read Exodus 23, matter of fact, the whole story of the Exodus, because that is the arm of the Most High that's involved with that, we see that Yeshua is also present with them as well. So that along, like with the brother, like I said, he said Moses was on the mountain. Like they like to speculate and, spend a lot of conjecture on what he was doing. I mean, go to Exodus 25, 26, 27. We'll see what he was doing in the mountain. He was getting instructions on how to make the temple. Everything the Most High told Moses, he told it to the people of Israel. And like I said, I'm going to ask the brother a question when I put it forward to him and show him where he's incorrect at. Let's see what else the brother said. I was trying to jot it down, and I kind of was like all over the place with it. And as far as if you was to notice when he speaks, he says that the Talmud is not the law. Like I say, they have very clever words that they use. The Talmud is not the word of the Most High. It's not the law, but it tells us how to live the law. So you're still basically imposing a strict observance to what the sages and the rabbis are saying. So, like I said, you keep proving my point when you keep saying it's not the law. So the oral Torah, by definition, since it's not in the Torah explicitly, by definition, the oral Torah is not the Talmud. Like I said, there's when we go to Sanhedrin 70, let's see, which one would that be? Sanhedrin 52. I would like for this brother to explain how it tells us that you can have sex with a beast if it's not in a natural way. Meaning if you do not, it's quite vulgar, but if you were to perform sodomy with an animal, that's not wrong. But if you were to naturally, I guess, not sodomize but still sleep with the animal, that's uncleanness. So according to definition, strict definition, since this is not in the Torah, the Talmud, by right and just by the strict things that say within it, it cannot be the oral Torah, which is the spoken law of the Most High. He's correct when he said the Talmud was composed around the circa 200, which is 200 years after Yeshua, by somebody called Judah the Boss. So basically what we see in 70 A.D., what the Jews, and he's right, melanated Jews, because they came from Babylon with that sorcery. That's lack of a better word. But when they came, they were melanated people, and they taught that religion. And it spread to the people of the Khazar nation, and they converted to it. It basically spread all over Judah. to where we see it today. So they either had to give up on their faith, believe in Yeshua HaMashiach, or create a new avenue for their religion. So this is where Judah Hanasi compiled the works, or so-called compiled the works of previous, so to speak, court cases and the law that they broke down, which is called, if I'm not mistaken, the Midrash. And so it's basically a lot of laws contained therein. It tells you, like the brother even said, how to wash your hands. You can't, according to the Talmud, you can't feed yourself certain ways on the Shabbat. You can't pull hairs out your head on the Shabbat. According to the Talmud, it's in, because I want to give the true quote. I want to say it's not the Midrash, it's the, let's see, I don't think I'm going to have time to pull it up.
All right, family, welcome to the line. Debate Talk Radio, 319-527-6239. This is the second rebuttal part of this debate. It's only 8 minutes each, and we have a third rebuttal. And after that, we're going to have the cross-examination part of this debate. Let's go to Eylon. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. Well, number one, the Talmud must support the Torah. Okay. Of course, Moshe received the instructions for the temple on Har Sinai and a myriad of other understandings. Let's deal with that very quick. The word for word that we see when we're talking about Exodus chapter 20, you shall perform no work on the Shabbat. The word is malachah. The question is, does the Torah define itself? Does the Torah define itself? Number one, how do you know that that word, malachah, means work, and what type of work does it mean? Because if you're going to use English, you're going to get all types of jacked up. You're going to say, oh, yeah, work is my 9 to 5. Work is doing heavy labor, doing what's right in your own eyes, right? And this is completely against what Deuteronomy 17, Deuteronomy 12:12. So many verses say you should not go about doing things in your own way. If you even look at Numbers chapter 15, the very end of that chapter, when we're talking about tzitzith and to wear tassels on a four-cornered garment, it says, what does it say? It says, so you won't go after your own heart and your own understanding. Okay? So next, let's talk about some of the. I guess he brought up a quotation from the Talmud, and this is what Christians love to do. They love to cherry pick, not just the scriptures to try and prove JC. Now, once they start getting the Talmud, now they're starting to get lost. It's one thing to go into 4,000 years of Israelite history in the Tanakh and try and cherry pick it. It's a whole other thing to try and cherry pick the Talmud and not understand the ways of actually studying it. Again, we must understand that we're looking from extreme parts of an issue to another extreme. We're dealing with codified law, simple if or then statements. Okay. And if you can keep that in your mind as we're dealing with codifications of law, it will make so much more sense to you that what's being said are opinions in a court of law. Very interesting that Deuteronomy 18 tells you to obey the words of the prophet. No Christian has an issue with this because the Christians believe that Deuteronomy 18:15 is talking about JC or Yeshua. So they don't have any reason to doubt. No reason to doubt any of the words of the prophets, especially they can go in there and twist them. But when Deuteronomy 17 tells you to obey the judges, all of a sudden you get into this mindset that, I don't want to be judged. Especially if we look at so-called black people in the United States, the last thing that we want to do is stand before a judge. So I would say to, again, look at how we're actually supposed to interpret the words of the judges. Also look at how we're actually supposed to interpret the words of the prophets, because they're always taken out of context. They're always cherry-picked or taken out of context. So let's go back into dealing with the topic of the debate, which is the oral Torah Yeshua, or is it the MISHNA Talmud, which I have already explained that it has to be. I would ask this question: if Yeshua is the law or the oral Torah, then Yeshua is against us, is against the Christians, according to Paul. In 1 Corinthians 15:56, it says, "The sting of death is the law, but sin is and the strength of sin." I'm quoting this wrong. Sin and the strength of the sin is the law. Okay, if I'm quoting that completely correct. The sting of death is sin, and the strength of sin is the law. Let me make sure I'm quoting that correctly. So if JC is the law, the sting of death is the law. If JC is the law, the strength of sin is the law. So is JC sin? Is he, I don't know what even to say after that. But see, what my opponent isn't telling you is that once you submit to Yeshua, you must also submit to Rome and the so-called law of liberty that we find in James 2:12. He finds all these issues taken out of context in the Talmud with no direct references because he's too spooked to really study them in context himself, without once realizing that his rabbi, JC, supports governments with liberal laws such as homosexuality, bestiality, and probably, worst of all, the subjugation of Israelite and indigenous peoples in Christian lands. It was the Christians who subjugated Israelites because of us trying to preserve the ways of the Creator. This so-called law of liberty, where you can do whatever you want to do. The oral law promotes no such idea, and the fact is that our oral law is pretty tiny compared to the millions of laws on the books in America alone. Yeshua is definitely the God of America. But, again, Messianics, they're going to do what's right in their own eyes. They're going to make it up as they go. This is just crazy. It's really interesting because we're not allowed to go to some Gentile hospital for a circumcision unless it's being performed by Torah-keeping mohel trained in the laws of Brit Milah. And the New Testament openly tells you that Yeshua didn't write the Gospels or anything in the New Testament for that matter, so you must validate his claims through his own mouth, no one else's. So he didn't leave no instructions left over on how to perform any of these commandments. Another flaw of his character shows when he could not properly adjudicate the issue when a woman was caught in adultery. If he was the Word made flesh and God himself, why didn't he simply bring both individuals involved to the judges as the Torah tells you to? He didn't even let her husband know what was going on, so maybe he can take this issue to the judges. No, he just let the woman go and never went to track down the man who violated another man's wife. Here's some questions. How do you
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Radio.
All right, so let's jump into the third rebuttal. Is the Torah the MISHNA or the Talmud, or is it the Yeshua? The number is 319-527-6239. Let's go to Gideon. Go ahead, Gideon.
Yeah, the brother, unfortunately, obviously isn't listening to the scriptures, specifically the Torah. But hopefully we have some brothers and sisters out there that's listening to this debate and can see what I'm trying to convey to the brother. The brother said Yeshua did not write nothing. And I'm here to tell the brother exactly. My position is Yeshua is the oral Torah. When the disciples of John came to him and they said, why do not your disciples fast like we do? Yeshua told him, said, while I'm here, while the bridegroom is here, they feast. Let them celebrate. So in the very essence of his rebuttal, he destroys his own position. Because that's what I'm saying. Exactly, Yeshua didn't write anything. But you know who did? The rabbis. They wrote a lot of things. The brother actually was comparing the Talmud as far as its brevity with the laws of America, but not the Torah. Again, I mean, he's missing the mark, which is the meaning, but anyway. So when he's using those arguments, like I said, he's diverting from, like, the topic. He says that it's basically, like, he tries to, like I say, it's almost like signing a contract when, you're a young kid, you're in the music industry. You sign it. You don't read everything. They just tell you, oh, man, this is good. Just sign it. Just sign it. It's good. The brother keeps glancing over like this is something that isn't done, that isn't law in regards to Judaism. Speaking of the Talmud, he said it's just proceedings of a court of law. But do you brush off proceedings of a court of law in the courtroom of the United States and the judgments thereof? No. The brother said we're fighting against the fact of being judged. Let me read something to you, my brother. I want to go to Ezekiel. Let's go to Ezekiel. Start at Ezekiel. No, I'm sorry. Not Ezekiel. I got even a better one. Micah 2. Let's go to Micah 2. Start at Micah 3. All right. So let's start at 9. Pray you heads of the house of Jacob and princes of the house of Israel, that abhor judgment and pervert all equity. They build up Zion with blood and Jerusalem with iniquity. The heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire. The prophets therefore divine for money, yet will they lean upon Yah and say, is not Yah among us? That evil can come upon us, therefore shall Zion for your sake be plowed as a field, and Jerusalem shall become heaps in the mountains of the house as the hot places of the forest. So you're right, we don't want to be judged. Not by the sages and the rabbis of the Talmud. Definitely not. The brother said the Talmud must back the Torah, but previous statements, he'll say that the Talmud is not the word of the Most High. So if anything must back the Torah, it is the word of the Most High. Just by the fact of it backing the word of the Most High. So the brother, he yeshiva'd himself to the point of where, the plain reading of the text, he can't read it without seeing it through the lenses and the glasses of the priests and the rabbis of Jerusalem. And, we definitely see the culture. I mean, these brothers didn't keep the Sabbath from the jump in the scripture. So the brother keep relying on the so-called pureness and the cleanness and in his perspective, the objectivity of the judges and the priests when it wasn't there. The brother said, the Most High told Moses that he didn't write was the oral Torah. Well, let me just nip that in the bud right now, because this is all through the Torah, not the Talmud. Let's go to Exodus 19, and we start at 24. So, Moses, speaking with the Most High on the mount, and verse 24. Then Yahweh said to him, away, get down, and then come up, you and Aaron with you. But do not let the priests and the people break through to come up to the Lord, lest he break out against them. So Moses went down to the people and spoke to them. And Yahweh spoke all these words saying. So if we have an instance of the Most High speaking to Moses and Moses taking the words that the Most High orally told him, and we see in chapter 20, or rather chapter 19, verse 25, Moses went down to the people and spoke to them all the words the Most High spoke, and we see it's transmitted in this book. We see that the basis for them saying that there was things that the Most High told Moses that were passed down orally, that's a lie, because we see the oral tradition basically right here. This is not something the Most High wrote. This is something the Most High told Moses. So once again, like I say, the brother never brought out the laws or the proceedings or the commentary or the opinions of the sages. So I guess in our conversation, I'll ask them about those sages and about those decrees and about those laws, so we can get a full understanding, because the brother, he definitely knows more about the Talmud than me, because once I see something that's against the Most High, I need not look into it any further. Definitely not for edification. So definitely the brother can definitely bring some information on the subject. And with that, I pass it on to the good brother.
All right, family, 319-527-6239. We're getting closer and closer to the public Q&A portion of the show, where you, the listening audience, can finally ask your questions or, state your comments live right here on Debate Talk Radio. The number is 319-527-6239. Again, family, make sure you join the Facebook group, Mr. Sal Showtime, all one word. Just type in the search box on Facebook, Mr. Sal Showtime. Join the group. Check out the schedule, find out what's the upcoming shows for the week. Again, we have merchandise, Debate Talk For You merchandise with the brand new logos. Shout out to Yaquam, my brother Yaquam, who lacing up the new look for Debate Talk For You out there, with the logos, things of that nature. We appreciate you, my brother. But for those of you that's not on the Debate Talk For You radio group, if you want to check out the merchandise, you have to go to teespring.com. That's TTE spring.com. And just type in the search box Debate Talk For You, and you'll see all the Debate Talk For You merch. Show your support. Check it out. All right, so let's go to Eylon right here in 8 minutes. And after this, we're going to get into the cross-examination part of this debate. Eylon, go ahead.
All right. So I'm glad that my opponent agrees with me that Yeshua was illiterate, or at least never wrote anything, and the fact that we just have hearsay about what he did and what he said. And in a court of law, that don't stand. We don't look at hearsay when we don't have someone's own testimony. We don't have his testimony about how to keep any of the commandments in the Torah whatsoever. So my question is, how do you perform circumcisions, marriages, funerals, conversions, pray, or offer sacrifices? If JC is the oral law, how are these things performed? A lot of these camps, assemblies, churches, and cults and groups, y'all just do whatever you want to do. What is the proper time for doing a funeral? But y'all, you know what? You're not even worried about that, because you know what? JC can come back anytime. So let's not worry about how to do a funeral correctly. It's been 2,000 years. He still ain't came. My other question is, what if we look at Hebrews chapter 7, verse 18, JC annulled himself if he is the law, because it says, for there is truly a cancellation of the commandment going before the weakness and unprofitableness thereof. A cancellation of the commandment. So is Yeshua canceling himself in this? Again, we don't know if he actually said this. Obviously he didn't. He didn't write anything. Yeshua brings wrath if he is the law. Romans 4:15, because the law brings wrath. So, and there is no law, and when there's no law, there is no transgression. So if there is no Yeshua,
here on earth or around us or whatever you want to say, there is no transgression. But the law brings wrath. So if he's here, he brings wrath. Is that what you're trying to say? Oh, boy. The thing is that the Messianic community does not even have access to the language without the Mishnah Talmud. How do you even know that your English translations are even reliable? You're just going to rely on James Strong's, the same guy who made all of the translations, not the translations, but the Strong's code numbers and basically wants to translate Hebrew words to point to Christianity. That way you stay in idolatry. So you're going to trust James Strong, a Christian, but you're not going to trust the melanated sages of Israel, which we have our own dictionaries on how to properly interpret our text. Well, let's get into some simple concepts about where oral Torah comes from. He keeps saying it's not in the Torah, it's not in the Torah, it's not in the Torah. Okay, that's fine, but let's look at the other parts of the book that you, I'm sure, agree with. The book of Yehoshua. Sefer Yehoshua, or Joshua, was given clarified instructions not even found in the Torah. If you look at Joshua 20, verse 1 through 6, verse 4 talks about bringing the accused before the elders. The Torah makes no mention of this. This is oral Torah. The entire book of Judges, for crying out loud, tells us who judged and all of the judgments passed. A lot of these even make their way into the Mishnah Talmud. Even the words of the Proverbs make their way into the Mishnah Talmud. And guess what? The entire Tanakh is quoted throughout the Mishnah and the Talmud. Shemuel Haroeh, or the prophet Shemuel, was most likely in charge of the first school of the prophets. He also judged Israel. Okay, so he set up how to be a prophet. David HaMelech, Allahu Shalom. He built a permanent temple and brought music into the service of the Almighty. How was he able to do this unless the court would first sanction him to do this? Yeshaya Hanavi commands us to make the Shabbat a delight in Isaiah 56, which I've already said. Daniel, peace be upon him, prayed 3 times a day. Where did he get that from? Esther Malcha. Queen Esther commands Purim and adding a compilation of books to the Holy Mikra, the Tanakh. She couldn't have done that without a court of judges. She didn't do it with JC. Nehemiah, he says you should not buy or sell on the Shabbat. There's nothing in the Torah that says that you cannot buy or sell on Shabbat. So now is the prophet Nehemiah in trouble? Are you not going to believe what he says? Even though the Torah says that you should obey the words of the prophets, the Torah says you should obey the words of the judges, period. So you're going to listen to the prophets, but you're not going to listen to the judges. Makes absolutely no sense. So with that, I hope everyone's able to hear at the sound of my voice that JC, Yeshua, is not the oral law. He is in heaven, apparently. He's not here on this earth, and he did nothing. Wrote nothing, left nothing for anybody to ascertain how to perform any commandments. He did not do anything that has to do with being a rabbi, even though rabbi is a term that comes into play with the Mishnah and the Talmud. At least Joseph Smith left, a Book of Mormon for us, right? At least the Prophet Muhammad left a book for us, right? And at least who else left the book for us to see their cultic followings and stuff? Oh, no, we just got a bunch of hearsay by Gospels that were written anonymously, which the Catholic Church agrees, which the entirety of Christendom agrees that nobody knows who wrote the Gospels. So it is completely asinine to even suggest this topic because it's so clearly obvious that he's not the oral law. You have not stated one time in this whole debate what law that he adjudicated. He didn't adjudicate nothing orally, so you lose on this count alone. He did not adjudicate anything orally or pass anything orally to anybody. That was not proven in this debate whatsoever. And everyone knows very, very clearly that the rabbis were creating oral law even in the New Testament. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and yield my time, and we'll get to the next section of the debate.
All right, is the oral Torah the MISHNA, TALMUD, or is it Yeshua? For those just joined in, we have a lot more people on the phone line, some Skypers. We appreciate the family tuning into the program. Again, we want to hear from you. All you got to do is press number 1 if you have a question, if you're already on the phone lines. But if not, if you're listening online, the number is 319-527-6239. Let's get into the cross-examination part of this debate. For the cross-examination, each person is going to have 10 minutes to ask their question. The person answering the question only has 1 minute to answer that question. And once that 1 minute mark is over, you're going to hear this sound. And once you hear that sound, it's time to go to the next question. The person asking this question can give it like a brief rebuttal, but immediately go right into your next question. So let's get this cross-examination started, and after that, we're going to take an intermission break, and then we're going to go to the public Q&A, where you can call in live, 319-527-6239. So Gideon, we're going to start off with Gideon asking questions to Eylon. Go ahead, Gideon.
Hey, peace to you, brother. How you doing, man?
Shalom, shalom. I'm good.
Yeah, I heard you quoting a lot of rabbis. I kind of didn't catch all of the names you was throwing out there, but one of the quotes you made, you said his name was Simeon ben Yohai or something, right?
Okay. Yeah, let me go back. I was quoting. Get to the part. Yeah, I was quoting Rabbi Yosef Albo.
Right.
Yeah, that was like my first. Yeah,
and you quoted
my first opening
Rabbi.
statement.
And you quoted a Rabbi Simeon.
Not to my knowledge. I'm not sure.
Are you familiar with the Rabbi Simeon ben Yohai in the Talmud?
Oh, Shimon, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai.
Shimon. Yeah, Shimon. Right. Did you
Okay.
quote him?
I did not tonight.
Oh, but are you familiar with him?
I'm vaguely familiar with him. Yes.
Right. He's in the Talmud, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Paul in Galatians 5, he says, in accordance with Exodus 12, if I'm not mistaken, in accordance with that, as far as the rules of the Passover, a little leaven the whole. Would you agree with that?
A little leaven. Do I agree with the New Testament?
Well, you agree with that proverb. A little leaven the whole.
So okay. I'm sorry. Are you quoting Proverbs or are you quoting the New Testament?
Well, I'm quoting Galatians, according to Exodus 12.
Okay. So,
right. You know the Passover, right? When they tell you to take all of the leaven out of your home. If you just have a little leaven, your home is unclean.
Yeah, you're trying to set something.
Right. So, if just a little leaven that's in that Talmud is going. So the way Simeon ben Yohai in that Talmud, he says that a priest.
Hey, hold on, my brother Gideon. Actually, a loan call just dropped. So, yeah, I just paused the time just now. So, as soon as he calls back in, we're going to get this thing rolling. Again, family, we're getting close to that public Q&A. I see some people pressing number 1. We appreciate you. And again, when we go to the Q&A segment, we want to hear from as much people as possible. Again, the number is 319-527-6239. Alone just his call just dropped, so hopefully he can call back in. And once he calls back in, we can get this thing cracking. I'm checking the email, family, debatetalkforyou@gmail.com, debatetalk the number 4, letter U @gmail.com. You can email me your questions or your comments right there. I'll gladly read them out during the public Q&A segment. By the way, family, we got a debate going on tomorrow. That's right. This week is a double header. We have this debate going on right now. We have a debate going on tomorrow. And that debate is entitled, Does the Melchizedek priesthood supersede the Levitical priesthood? Once again, does the Melchizedek priesthood supersede the Levitical priesthood? Debating that topic will be Brother Kolaya versus Brother Josh. So you don't want to miss that debate. Make sure you tune in tomorrow right here on Debate Talk Radio. I believe Eylon is back. All right. Are you back, brother?
Yeah, sorry, but I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, go ahead. Continue, guys. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gideon, you can continue.
So what I was what I was saying was that I can't agree or disagree with what's in the New Testament. You're going to have to kind of explain the question again to me.
Right. Well,
where you're going with that.
So basically, in the Talmud, Simeon ben Yochai says that it's okay for a priest to marry a Goyim girl that's 3 years and 1 day old. Do you feel that is? What do you think about that?
Well, what I think about that is very clear. If we read the context of what is being said there, again, we're talking about extreme cases from one extreme to another. What is being established is the minimum age that a girl might be able to be betrothed to someone. That does not mean that sexual intercourse will happen at that particular time. As a matter of fact, in other places of the Talmud, it is very clear that sexual intercourse should not be had until the female is of mature age. So just because you can set apart, and again, when we were talking about marriage, how marriage was done in ancient times is way different than marriage is done now. There were plenty of arranged marriages. So that's what I think about that particular verse. It does not necessarily mean that priest will take sexual favors and all this other stuff. Again, that's kind of an interesting deal that people will go there.
All right, next question. Go ahead.
All right, I just want to say it's interesting how a lot of the things that the brother was saying in defense of it was strictly left up to the interpretation of the person that has the position to make the decision, meaning he's not going to sleep with the little girl that's 3 years old until she's mature. And there goes the question of what is mature and who says what is mature. So that right there, that's a little leaven right there. My brother, let's see. I'm going to read this. This is from the Midrash Peshetka Rabata. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not familiar with the Midrash Peshetka Rabata. That is, I mean, are you pulling this from the Talmud, or are you pulling this from a Midrash?
Okay.
The Midrash is going to be separate.
In the Midrash, Peshetka Rabiti, which is the oral Torah of Judaism, this is what it says. This is all the oral law, which the Jews call the oral law. It says a person must not say, "I will not keep the commandments of the elders because they are not from the Torah." The Almighty says to such a person, "No, my son, rather all that they decree upon you observe, as it is written, according to the instruction which they teach you. You must obey their decree, as it is written. You will decree, and he will fulfill it." So, do you feel are you in agreement with that you must listen to the rabbis even if the commandments are not from the Torah and do not go in accordance with the Torah, that you still would obey those elders that you're ascribing to?
Well, I would do the exact same that I would do with the prophets. If a prophet commands something, then we are to listen to, just like Deuteronomy 18 says. And the Midrash sounds like it's a Midrash on Deuteronomy 17, which is just commentary, by the way. It's not Midrashim is not part of the actual oral law. It's not part of the Talmud, which this debate is based on. It's commentary, and sometimes it can be whimsical commentary. But I think what they're actually getting at here, going back to Deuteronomy 17, what does it say? It says, "You shall obey the judges," and rabbi is just another title for judge. So yes, what the Torah says, I will do. Period. I'm a Hebrew. Why would I do anything else?
All right. That's a nice answer. Now let's get to this point. This is what I want to say. Do you agree with the Talmud that says Goyim or basically non-Israelites or animals and shall be treated as such? That in the court of law, an Israelite should never lose judgment to a Gentile. Do you agree with that?
Well, this is a very long explanation. I don't have to,
right.
I don't have a whole time to list. Right. But I know, for instance, that that the Most High Himself calls the nations as spittle. The Most High considers the nations as the dust of the earth. I'm not sure what's lower than spittle or what's lower than dust. And not that the Goyim should be treated in an inhumane way. There's plenty of laws that do protect the Goyim. So this is again a very complex issue. Again,
okay.
We're supposed to look at the Talmud too. Yeah, we're supposed to look at the Talmud too.
We only got a little time.
Okay, go ahead.
But I just want to refer back to Deuteronomy 30, and I want to start at verse 11. For this commandment, which I command you today, is not too mysterious for you, nor is it far off. So, like I said, I asked the brother about where it says you shall, in Exodus 20, it tells us to obey the Most High, and this brother is trying to explain why we should not obey the Most High when the rabbis tell us not to. So again, like I said, it's a lot of lawyer talk, a lot of quick speech.
Torah is a book of law. Is this the question? The Torah is a book of law. So I mean, of course, it's going to be all talk. Is this a question?
Hold on. Ain't almost over. 30 more seconds.
I don't want to go against the instructions, bro. No matter how much we might think it would be right to, I want to definitely go by Brother Sal's law. And the law is my 10 minutes, then after that you will go. So, we're not going to, circumvent that. But I just have one more question for you, bro. That's all. Sanhedrin 52b.
All right. We're starting the cross-examination part of this debate, and after this, we're going to take a 8-minute break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from you, the listening audience. All you got to do, dial that number via phone, via Skype, 319-527-6239. If you have Google Voice, you can also call in with that. And Talkatone is another app that you can download to call into the program. Let's get this cross-examination going again. So this time, Eylon's going to ask questions to Gideon. Go ahead, Eylon.
All right. How many commandments are in the written Torah?
According to rabbinic tradition, it's 613.
Okay. Did you? So you're saying you agree? Did you agree with that there are 613?
Well, I necessarily won't say it's right or wrong.
Okay. All right. Acts 1:12 says that they went on a Sabbath day's journey. How long is a Sabbath day's journey according to Yeshua being the oral law?
A Sabbath day journey, according to what's that last part you said?
According to Yeshua, you said the topic is Yeshua's the oral law. How long is a Sabbath day's journey?
Well, I haven't really studied how long is a Sabbath day's journey, but I would have to take it. It would be, 6 days or something to that effect. I mean, This is what you're not understanding, bro. That can very well much be in the Torah, and that can be true. You know, that's a fact. That's like knowledge that's just known amongst Israelites. You know, because it's also in the Talmud where it talks about 30 years, you know, before the destruction of the temple, or rather 40 years before the destruction of the temple, prices were not accepted anymore. So the Talmud has a lot of things that are correct in it, but like I said, in accordance to Exodus 12, since you're not a believer in the New Testament, according to Exodus 12, a little leaven leavens the whole. So I'm not going to walk around and say the Talmud is the word of the Most High just because it's telling you how many days is a Sabbath day's journey. But how many days? What is a Sabbath journey? Well,
Next question.
All right. So basically, what you're telling me is that you just kind of made up what you think a Sabbath day's journey is, and this is from BibleStudyTools.com. It's very clear that a Sabbath day's journey is 2,000 cubits, and this comes from rabbinical decree. Acts 12 quotes a rabbinical term. My next question is, where can I find the steps on how to perform an exorcism? Do I just ask Yeshua how to cast out demons, or is there somewhere I can go to find out this information?
Well, I mean, as far as casting out spirits, it's not really defined in the Torah because it's not really too many situations where you come across spirits. But, you know, what we see in the New Testament is Yeshua, in the name of the Most High, casting out those demons. So, like I said, Yeshua is the oral Torah according to the definition. Not according to what they say, but according to the definition, the oral Torah is Yeshua. So when he spoke to those demons and the demons said, "What do we have to do with you, Holy One of Israel?" They knew who he was, and that showed us, he orally showed us how to exercise demons, my brother. So that would be my answer.
Okay. Where can I find the instructions on how to raise someone from the dead? Do I just ask Yeshua or the Holy Ghost how to do this? Or is there somewhere I can go to find out this information?
First of all, I would like to see the instruction that you can raise somebody from the dead in the Torah.
Okay. Well, you said that Yeshua is the oral Torah. Okay. So there must be oral instruction on how to do the things that Yeshua did, because Yeshua commands that you must do even greater works than he did in Mark 16. So are you telling me that there are no actual instructions? Are you telling me that there are actually no instructions on how to perform these things? So are you telling me that there are actually no instructions on how to perform the things that Yeshua requires?
Greater work than these you can do, you know, if you ask them in my name. That's what Yeshua said. But as far as like giving us step-by-step instructions on how to raise somebody from the dead, that's not in the Torah, my brother. That's not in the written Torah. So it's definitely not going to be in the oral Torah. Let's see.
So are you telling me, well, answer me this. What are the greater works? Can you list these greater works than raising someone from the dead, or are they listed somewhere else?
Well, saving your soul is a greater work than raising somebody from the dead.
Okay.
Because you're still alive. And if I preach the message of Yeshua and his saving grace to you, you know, I just saved your soul and your flesh, because you're still on this earth. So, I mean, you know.
All right. The law of liberty in James 2:12. How are we supposed to be judged by the law of liberty according to Yeshua?
I would be glad to answer that, but for the sake of time and for the sake of the topic of the discussion, that has nothing to do with the topic of the discussion. We're talking about the oral law, and the Talmud is the Talmud of Yeshua. So I don't see what that question has to do with this.
Is the law of liberty in James 2:12 an oral law?
What
Is
what
it
do
a
you
law
take
or
about
not?
it? Do you take it to be?
Okay. Since you believe Yeshua is the oral law, do you still need the Holy Ghost? Yes or no?
Since Yeshua is the oral law, do you still need the Holy Ghost? I mean, that's part of it. All that comes with it.
But isn't the Holy Ghost supposed to teach you all things?
Correct. Because that's what I was
So
telling you.
why do you need Yeshua?
When you didn't understand, you were saying, well, Yeshua is gone, so how do we have the law with us? That's what I was explaining to you. The Holy Ghost, the Comforter, is with us, and the Holy Ghost teaches all things. So that's how we have it. Because, like I say, the covenant that Yeshua brought in is the covenant of Jeremiah 31. It's like we don't need rabbis no more. We don't need priests. It's on our heart.
Okay. How do you betroth a wife, and how is the marriage ceremony performed according to Yeshua being the oral Torah? How do you do it?
Well, we know how not to do it. We know you're not going to just take a woman against her will and make her your wife. We know you're not going to do that. We know you're not going to rape her without dying. We know that. So, between those two extremes, you figure it out. See, that's the thing you're not understanding, bro. The oral Torah, by definition, nothing is wrong with that because it's the word of God. But you're stuck and fixated on the Talmud as being the oral Torah, which it is not. We do need traditions from the Most High. We do need ways to understand and explain, as Yeshua stated in Matthew 5.
All right, next question. Sorry about that. Next question.
All right. So if the written Torah tells you that you're supposed to take a wife to marry her, how does Yeshua tell you how to take a wife, and how is the marriage ceremony performed? What does Yeshua's oral law say?
Well, like I said, the things that Yeshua spoke of, he only brought a full understanding. I mean, the culture of how to betroth and marry your wife. I mean, Yeshua wasn't coming to address that, but it was a lot more bigger things that he needed to address. As far as when the Pharisees tried to hold certain things against him, saying that he broke the law, when it was really traditions of men that they was accusing him of breaking, as we see in Mark 5, when he plucked the ears of corn on the Shabbat.
Is a marriage betrothal ceremony a tradition of man, like we see in Matthew 1:18 when Mary was betrothed to Joseph?
Well, right. Within that law is traditions. But what you're not understanding is that when those traditions break the law, that's when it's against the Most High. You cannot keep those traditions just because they're traditions. That's the same thing that you get against the Catholics for, which I agree with you. It's the same thing you should be getting against the rabbis for. Their tradition. Like on the Sabbath, you can't brush your hair, right? Too hard, correct?
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Radio.
All right, family, there you have it. Is the oral Torah the MISHNA, TALMUD, or is it Yeshua? Hopefully you take down your notes on both sides. We're going to take an intermission break, and when we come back, we're going to hear from you, the listening audience. Again, if you just tuned in, the only way you can chime in live is by calling in 319-527-6239. You press number 1 and stand by. That lets me know that you have a question for my special guests, Gideon and Elyon. So we're going to take an 8-minute break. Like I said, don't you go nowhere. We'll be right back after these messages. Stand by. All right, family, we are back. Debate Talk for you. The Lion's Den is the oral Torah, the MISHNA, TALMUD, or is it Yeshua? Gideon versus Eylon. Again, hopefully you took down your notes. That's what it's all about. Go back and do the research and study the information, and I hope that you get understanding. But now, as the public Q&A, if you have any questions or any comments, all you got to do is dial that number, 319-527-6239. Ask your questions or ever hold your peace. We're going to go to the phone lines for those that are new to the show. Got to keep it clean, keep it professional, no foul language. Believe it or not, we have people listening with the kids and even the elderly. So let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to 530-763. You're live. (530-763). Are you there? All right, going once, going twice. All right, you're going to have to come back. Let's see. Let's go to 720-352. You're live.
Shalom, shalom. All praise to the Most High God of Israel. Shalom, Sal. Shalom, Eylon. Shalom, Gideon.
Hey, shalom. What's going on?
What's good?
Shalom.
Good. Excellent job, Eylon. I got a couple questions for Gideon. I just want to be clear on some stuff. Are you saying that there is no oral Torah at all? Is that what your stance is?
I'm saying by definition, well, no, there is no oral Torah. No written oral Torah.
There is no oral Torah. Okay, so in Proverbs 25:1, it says, "These are the Proverbs of Solomon, which was the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied out." So does that mean that those were oral before they were written down?
Before we even get into that, which I will want to go read and look at, that's not the Torah, bro.
No, I'm not.
When
I'm
I
just
say
saying.
the Torah, no, what I'm saying, so you understand what I'm saying. When I say Torah, I'm talking about the first 5 books of Moses or the Pentateuch.
Oh, so you're specifically focusing on
look at the
actual first 5 books. Okay,
right.
well, a lot of people.
I'm speaking to you, a non-messianist.
Are
you a non-messianist? You just Devon, right?
Yeah. But
so you a
I just want to be clear.
Right? So you should know that.
No, but again, when people say Torah, depending on who you're talking to, some people mean that to be the whole Tanakh.
Okay.
So if we want to be very specific, I'll be very specific. So I apologize if I wasn't so specific.
It's not specific. I entertain. What proverb you talking about?
In Proverbs 25:1.
Okay.
It says, "These are the Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied out." So my question is, was that oral before? But if you're saying that's not what you're talking about, are you specifically talking about the first 5 books of the actual written Torah?
Okay.
Then that's a whole other question.
Right. So check this out. These are the right. Even if you want to add this to that, bro, it's like this is something that they copied down. A proverb is just a saying.
That's again. The question? Was it oral first before it was written down?
Of course.
Okay, so that would just show you that there was an oral tradition that ended up being written down by a king of Judah who was a Messiah.
Right. I never said that. When I'm saying there's no oral Torah, I'm saying that the Talmud that is written down is not the oral Torah. The oral Torah, like I stated, the word that comes from the Most High. That's the oral Torah.
Okay, if we want to be very specific about the oral Torah, okay, so when it talks about tzitzits, right? We know Yeshua wore fringes or tzitzits, right? How do you make them specifically in the written Torah? Can you give me a step-by-step instruction on how to make them, what to make them from, how long they're supposed to be, how many strings they're supposed to be?
Okay, so when he told Israel to make zigzags for their rebellion, he basically just told them to put it on the corners of your fringes. I mean, the corners of your garment. Bands of blue.
Okay, what kind of blue? Dark blue, light blue?
Wow. See, that's, bro.
I'm being specific. Or can you make your own? I'm just asking, or can you just make your own?
You're being minute. Whether
I'm not being specific.
Bro, check it out. Whether it's a royal blue or a Mediterranean blue, it's blue. See, this is the thing you got to understand. They didn't have like 1,000 blues running around back then.
That's not my question, bro. I'm saying where does it specifically say you can do that?
Hold on. One at a time. Come on.
If you want to be specific about it, that's the specific answer. It wasn't millions of colors of blue roaming around Palestine at that time, so that wasn't a need to be a law.
There wasn't. Okay, so you're saying that, but it don't say that though. I just want to know. So I can make my strings as long as I want, and he can make 5 strings on his, and he can have 20 strings on his, as long as I got fringes, right? Is that what you're saying?
Long as they're on the corner of your garments, correct, bro. You see how some people have the fringes where it go all the way around their garment, and then they have the certain ones where they just wear it on the corners, and it's not all the way
so it
around.
was just whatever, however you interpreted that is pretty much, okay. So my other question is,
long as it's not going against the law. But see, when you're, it seems like you're championing the Talmud, but when the Talmud tells you
I didn't say nothing about the Talmud. Did I bring up the Talmud? I said, where does it specifically say in the written Torah how to do it?
So you're not saying the Talmud is the oral Torah.
I didn't bring it. You brought up the Talmud, bro. I didn't say nothing about the Talmud.
Is the Talmud?
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I asked you specifically about how do you make these.
Let me ask you this before we wrap it up.
My next
is the oral law the Talmud?
No. The word Talmud is a compilation of what's in the oral law and compilations and folk tales and commentary.
Now, all right, let's call it out. The brother just said it's not the oral law. Then he said it's the oral law. Then the other.
Because the Talmud is not itself the oral law. It's a commentary on it. So my next question is, how do you circumcise a baby? I'm gonna give it time to the next callers, but I'm not really gonna entertain too many questions from one person when it's obvious. They.
All right, so I gotta let alone.
Do they own?
Yeah, I gotta let alone respond. I'll let alone respond.
Yeah, no doubt.
Get alone.
Right.
You can respond.
Well, thank you, Brother Devon, for coming and asking those questions and clarifying some things. And this is why I actually pleaded with the brother, my opponent, to maybe even change the topic, because you're kind of putting yourself at a crux here. And I explained to the brother very clearly that the MISHNA is our catalog of oral Torah, and the Talmud, like Devon eloquently put, it is simply commentary on the Mishnah and halakhic rulings on the Mishnah and interpretations of the Mishnah. And again, included in the Mishnah are those 31 laws that were given at Har Sinai, those 7 laws of the rabbis that were made that I listed. And in terms of the blue or how many strings of Techeleth, I mean, what if we want to go by the written Torah as best as we can, regardless if we have Talmud that preserves a lot of our traditions or not, or if we just kept it oral up until this point, regardless, we still have Deuteronomy 2:8. It says, "You shall not do after the things that you do here this day. You shall not do what you shall not do after the things that you do here this day on the Beit Talk for You. Every man whatsoever is right in his own eyes." So no, you can't go out and have tzitzis that are 6 feet long, or have all blue tzitzis, or have purple tzitzis, or whatever. The word Techeleth is very clear as to what it is.
Is it lawful to eat?
Hold on a second. I'm almost done. The word Techeleth is very specific on what type of blue that is, and the oral Torah, not JC, not Yeshua, tells us exactly what blue that is. And apparently a woman even touched the hem of his garment, and every Aramaic translation and Hebrew translation says that tzitzis. But what is tzitzis? Does Yeshua actually define what this is? The answer is no. Even the Torah itself does not explicitly say what this is. So therefore, you should not do what's right in your own eyes tonight, but rather you should look to the judges who in Deuteronomy 17 are very clear as we're to obey their words and standardized what Techeleth is, what tzitzis are, and how they should be worn and when they should be worn. So go ahead with your question.
Hey, bro, is eating milk and dairy, like cheese and meat, is that against the law?
That is definitely against the law. Why? Because, number one, you do not know exactly what the Hebrew idioms existed. You don't know exactly what Hebrew idioms actually existed before the Torah was written down. Hebrew as a language was oral before it made itself into the written Torah. There are certain idioms when we say you should not boil a kid in its mother's milk, and it's listed 3 times. That is an idiom of the Hebrew language that is very specific to the Hebrew language that we don't find in English at all. And since we have a understanding of what Hebrew was as an oral language, we need to be able to translate it correctly. You're going to just rely on Strong's and whatever teachers you have only read English, and it makes absolutely no sense. So you're not going to.
What you say? Get in again. I can hear you. What you say? I can hear you.
He says I'm relying on Strong's concordance when I'm actually relying on the Torah. Like I said, bro, if you can show me where it says
the English Torah, the English Torah.
If you show me in the English Torah, in the what's the guy's name? The Strong's Torah, whatever Torah you want to show it to me in. If you show me that the law states in the Torah that it's against the law to eat meat with milk, then you'll be showing me something, because it's not in there.
Deuteronomy 17, verse 8 through 13. There you go.
Shows that you follow the Talmud and you don't follow the Torah. You just don't want to expressly outright say it, because, that's not the way you do it.
It's an edict of the judges. I'm not saying that it isn't. I agree with you. I'm not saying that it's explicitly in there.
All
right. So let's get some of these callers.
Next caller. Let's go. Next caller.
All right, let's go to the phone line, y'all. Once again, the number is 319-527-6239. Let's go to 813-240. You all live.
Hey, peace, Brother Sal. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay, good. Peace, Brother Eylon. Peace, Gideon. Hey, shalom. Okay.
Is this Chris the engineer or Chris the forklift driver? Which one?
Okay, 1 second, brother. When we're debating on Debate Talk for You radio, there's no need to get hostile and begin to name call people. That's not what we do over here.
Let him get his question out. Let him get his question out. Get in.
Is there any way you can mute the guy while I ask the question?
Get in. Wait, stand by. Get in. Let him get his question out. Go ahead. Hey, Chris, get your question out.
Okay. You know what? I'm just going to leave a comment. Great job, Brother Eylon. I told you the class of this individual before you debated him, and now you're seeing it when they're wrong and information is given to certain peoples. You begin to see how they act. You can even see his maturity level as he addresses the callers and the people that began to question him. And I would like to ask you, Brother Eylon, just a quick question, because I'd rather not ask the brother a question. Are you familiar with halakhic law? Halakhic law? I can't pronounce the word. Are you familiar with that?
Halakhic law, yes, sir.
Okay, so in Deuteronomy, the 17th chapter, it tells us that we are to go to the judges. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Was Jesus a judge?
From what I understand, my reading of the New Testament, he was a rabbi.
He was a rabbi.
And a rabbi,
exactly.
And a rabbi is just another term for a later term for judge. He's supposed to function the exact same way as judges of the Torah.
Okay, so the reason why I brought up the halakhic is because we see him applying that to certain parts of the law when he says any man who looks at a woman and thinks adultery in his mind, he's already been convicted of sin. He's already sinned. And because that means you're going to do it. You're already thinking about doing it. And that is a form of halakhic law, where they would put barriers in front of the law to prevent them from breaking it. This is not condemning anyone on here. I just wanted to give an example of MISHNA. Talmud were teachings concerning written parts of the law. That's what this entire thing is about. It's not about condemning one another, but I do want to address something because he went to Exodus 23, and in Exodus 23, it says, "Behold, my angel shall go before you." But if you finish reading that, it says he shall fight the Hittites, the Perizzites, and the Amorites. And he said, "And you shall listen to this angel." The only messenger, because we don't deal with angels, that is in fact Greek. We deal with Malak or Malakim. In this case, that name was not Jesus or Yeshua. It was Joshua, the Most High's messenger, who also gave the law orally to the Israelites in Joshua chapter 8, verse 34. We call that right there a body bag. So you got to watch what you say and read things in context. So with that being said, great show, Sal. Good job, Brother Eylon. To Gideon, I think you should get your study up. Get your studying up a little bit, and we can keep it moving from there. Peace.
All right, I'm going to let Gideon respond. Thanks for the call. Gideon, you can respond now. Good.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the time that the people spent calling in. But to the person that just made the comment, definitely I thank him for urging me to continue to learn. And one thing I did learn that Yeshua definitely was the oral Torah. And just to explain it to this brother, because obviously he don't read the written Torah, when he said when Yeshua came and gave the halakha, which is Jewish law, basically. When Yeshua came and said, "Thou shalt not," you look at your neighbor's wife, lust, you breaking a sin, as if that's something new. But let me read something for this brother in the law, where I would think all non-messianics, at least the ones who I consider, they definitely know this. They know this up and down. It's Deuteronomy 5, and let me start at 21. Deuteronomy 5 and 21. It says, all right, 4. Okay. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, and you shall not desire your neighbor's house. So if I'm looking at that, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife. If I have any type of understanding, and the brother Elyon, he know the Hebrew, so he would know understanding, and his root meaning is ben, which is also the same Hebrew word for son, which is also what Yeshua is, the Son of the Most High. So if you have any type of understanding about yourself, you will see that Yeshua did not bring no new commandment with that. That's all I want to say. What he was saying as.
All right. Well, can I respond?
Yeah, you can respond. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's be specific. The Christian God was very clear. He said, if you look upon a woman, he didn't say look upon a married woman. He said, if you look upon a woman with lust, then you've already committed adultery. He said it doesn't matter he doesn't explain what type of woman this is, if she's married or not, or if she's single or not. He just says that if you look upon any woman, that you've already committed adultery in your heart. So how is that adultery if I'm looking at a single woman? According to the Torah that you just quoted, it says you shall not covet your neighbor's wife. It's very, very clear. Torah is very clear. And so this is why we look at the New Testament in such disdain, because sure, he's using a Pharisaic interpolation, but he's using it completely wrong. And this is why he was, if he existed at all, he was kicked out of any rabbinic schools because of his ideas. It makes it's completely against Torah to say that, number one, you have to have lust in order to court a mate. You have to have some type of desire for the other person. So to get rid of this desire, and then we have this whole movement of, I have the gift of singleness in a lot of these Christian movements and things like this. There is no there's no commandment in Torah for Israelites to be celibate. And all throughout the New Testament, this is not even the subject of the debate, is Yeshua. We don't even know if Yeshua actually said these words or not, because the Gospels are anonymous. So we have no clue of knowing what went down. So again, it's sad. It's a sad state of affairs for Christian people who think they have the gift of singleness, who think that being celibate is pious, when the Torah says completely the opposite. And JC says you should do these things. It makes absolutely no sense. I yield. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, we got to get to some of these questions. I see I think I have like 2 email questions, so let's get to the next caller. All right, again, you can just press number 1, family, if you have any questions or comments, or dial the number 319-527-6239. That's 319-527-6239. Press number 1, and that'll let me know that you got a question. Let's go to the next caller, though. Let's go to 312-802.
I gotta paint that wall. I don't know what else is I don't know what else.
Hey, 312. Are you there? 312. I think you don't even listen to us right now. 312-802. Are you there? You are live.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's going on, man? You're live on air.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, man. I couldn't hear you for a second. Shalom. Shalom to you, Eylon, and to Brother Gideon. No, I'm handing it to him. Brother Gideon, good debate. Yeah, good debate.
It's Brother Ysrael, right?
Yes, it's Brother Ysrael. Shout out to you, Sal. Peace to you. My question sort of goes to Brother Eylon, and I wanted you as well, Brother Gideon, to sort of elaborate on it. I heard you mention, Brother Eylon, sort of, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. You said Jesus didn't really teach on marriage according to the Torah. And so I wanted to bring up a couple of verses in the Brit Hadashah, or the New Testament verses, specifically Mark chapter 10. And I'll just read a bit of it. And he says, Mark chapter 10, verse 1 says, and he left that place and went to the region of Judea and beyond the Jordan, and crowds again gathered around him. And as was his custom, which we know was a Hebrew custom, Israelite custom, he again taught them. Some Pharisees came to test him, and they asked, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife? He answered them, what did Moses command you? They said, Moses allowed a man to write a certificate of dismissal and to divorce her. But Jesus said to them, because of your hardness of your heart, he wrote this command for you. But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate. Then in the house, the disciples asked him again about this matter. He said to them, whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery against her. And if she divorces her husband and marries another, she commits adultery. So, Brother Eylon, I wanted to ask you, where in that verse and where in Christ's words does his teaching on marriage and divorce is in direct opposition to the Torah?
Very, very clearly in those last 2 verses that you said, the Torah is very clear that once you divorce your wife, she can go and marry another. It does not say that she commits adultery, okay, or anything like that. So again, this is to us, this is an addition to the Torah. This is a bastardization of what the Torah says, and so this is why you have people in unhappy marriages across the board, especially monogamous relationships, because they believe they can't leave the divorce. They're completely bound. When Moshe Rabbeinu, peace be upon him, wrote down and recorded the idea of a bill of divorce, and the converse, which the rabbis have given us, is the ketubah, the marriage contract. So from their understanding, in which I agree, if the Torah says one thing that is for the good, that you have to present a paper, then the obverse must also be true, meaning that if it takes a bill of divorce, a piece of paper to divorce your wife, there must be a piece of paper in order to marry a wife. And if you divorce that woman, she can be another man's wife, period. She does not commit adultery by marrying another person. Okay, that's not adultery. That is, I mean, that's Catholicism, Christianity 101 that a lot of people came out of. I mean, this is very simple. So it's completely against the Torah. This Mark chapter 10, verse 12 or 11 and 12.
Yeah, let me bring him back in. I heard some background noise, Yara. So I had to mute you real quick. But go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So are you saying this in direct opposition to Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1 through 5? If you even know what they say.
Excuse me?
Are you saying that what Jesus taught in Mark chapter 10 is in direct opposition to Deuteronomy, volume 24, verses 1 through 5?
Yes, because verse 2 says... Exactly, because verse 2 says, and when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. It doesn't say that she commits adultery.
Well, it says,
it's very clear.
Deuteronomy 24, verses 1 through 5 allows a man to divorce his wife if he finds her incident or unacceptable by issuing a written writ of divorce. Mm-hmm. Right? And so
and the rabbis also... okay, go ahead.
Right. So what I'm saying is, so when we get to this same understanding of the teaching on Christ's Torah, I mean, you don't consider. Do you consider adultery grounds for divorce?
Adultery, yeah, according to Halakha, adultery is grounds for divorce, and there's a lot of other issues that would be grounds for divorce according to Halakha. But the Christian God does not elaborate on this whatsoever.
I didn't ask you about the Christian God. I asked you Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1 through 5. Does it diametrically oppose Mark chapter 10?
Of course it does, because Mark chapter 10 says that she's committing adultery by being another man's wife. Deuteronomy 24:2 says she can go and be another man's wife without it. There's nothing that says that there's any retribution. There's nothing that says that there's any sin involved. This is just a business. Really, marriage, if you really think about it, is a business transaction. And when the contract and the terms of the contract are not kept, or in this case, like Deuteronomy 24 verse 1 says, there's uncleanliness. The question is, what is uncleanliness? So this, again, we don't go by what we think is right in their own eyes. The judges of Israel have already said what that uncleanliness is, and there's a whole litany of things that we don't even have time today to go over as far as betrothal and divorce.
Yeah, Yara, you have some more background noise. Let me get to Gideon. I got to let Gideon respond to some of this. Go ahead, Gideon. You can respond.
Right. Well, the brother, I definitely want to thank the brother Yara because I definitely, although I'm familiar with that verse, I haven't looked upon it for this debate, and I definitely thank the brother for that perspective. And I'm definitely in agreement with what the brother is saying as far as Yeshua being the clarification and the true understanding of the Torah. And the brother, he keeps speaking of that, who are we going to leave it up to interpret these laws, or the law that was given to Moses, who else but the priest? But according to Isaiah 28, verse 7, Jeremiah 1, Jeremiah 2, Ezekiel 22, not those priests, because he keeps saying the priest, but the priests in these verses who, the Most High took the stewardship from, those priests, they definitely not going to interpret the law for me. So I definitely thank the brother for calling in, and definitely appreciate the perspective that he brought forward.
All right, family, you have like 17 minutes on the air, so we may go into the overtime part of the show. What that means, if you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, if you're listening on the internet, the only way you can hear the rest of the show live is by calling in 319-527-6239. We're taking some callers from the family out there that's listening to the show, and after that, we're going to get some final statements from both special guests. All right. I don't see anybody else pressing number 1 at this time, but I do have some email questions. Let's go to the email, and this one I believe is for Gideon. All right. So, Gideon, you ready to hear this question?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So, question for you: was this an oral law? John, chapter 6, verse 53. That's John. Chapter 6, verse 53. And it says, you can read it yourself then.
It says, then Yeshua said, most assuredly I say unto you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. And he's saying, is that the oral Torah?
Yeah. Was this the oral law?
Well, according to Isaiah 53, according to Jeremiah 24, definitely that's the fulfillment of that law. Like the Deuteronomy 18.
All right. Let me let Eylon respond. Get Eylon, you can respond to that.
Well, yeah. If Yeshua is the oral law, then yeah, I'm pretty sure this would be an oral law. I mean, then the question is this an oral law for the nation of Israel that we drink his blood and that we sing songs about being drenched in blood? There's a fountain filled with blood flowing from my master's veins. However they sing the song. Oh, the blood of JC. I wash myself in the blood. I live in the blood. I drink the blood. It makes absolutely no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. I'm actually kind of appalled at what's going on here because at one point my opponents. At one point, I'm talking. I'll get to you in a second. At one point, my opponent says that, well, that's not oral Torah. That's not oral Torah. And then he goes to Isaiah 28:7 and starts talking about the priests. I wasn't talking about the priests this entire 2.5 hours that we've been on air. I've been talking about the judges, the shofet, the rabbis, which again, this is another term for judge. I've never been talking about the priests at all. And again, if I have to keep going back to Deuteronomy 17, verse 8 through 11 is very clear that we should listen to the judges, especially if you agree with Deuteronomy 18, which says we're supposed to listen and heed the words of the prophets. That's all.
I get in again. You can respond. We got to take the next question after. Go ahead, Gideon. You can respond.
We can go to the next question.
All right. Let's go to 510-435. You're live.
Hey, shalom, everybody. What's up, Gideon? What's up, Eylon? Peace to you, Sal. This is Benny D.
Shalom.
Calling in. All right.
How you doing?
Oh, not too much. Okay. I just wanted to make a correction about what Christ said about marriage. So I agree with Brother Eylon, and when he said that you got to read, pay attention to the words. So in Mark, it said the Pharisees stepped to him and said, can a man divorce his wife for any reason, not just uncleanness, any reason, which is why he said what he said, because if you just do it for any reason and not just a matter of uncleanness, then you do cause her to commit adultery. And the next point I wanted to make was about I forgot that quick. Okay. Okay. So in Isaiah, the reason why we are skeptical about the judges and that Talmud and MISHNA that you hold so closely to, Brother Eylon, is because in Isaiah it says that the judges were not judging righteously, and it also says in Isaiah that whoever the Messiah is, whether you believe it's it's Yeshua as we do, or whether you believe in somebody else, that he would come and magnify the law and make it holy again because of everything that the unrighteous leaders were doing. So that's when you read the whole narrative of the New Testament, that's the problem that was going on, was that the judges and the elders were doing it for money. And then also that they were adding to the law, as it states in Isaiah, very thoroughly. So that's one of the reasons. But I do want to have a question for the brother. Is in the Talmud, I know that it says a whole lot of different things, but on the Sabbath day, like Gideon said, where you can't tie your shoes or nothing like that, or you can't lift any heavy objects, it states that in the Talmud. Is there anything in the Talmud that you do not agree with, or in the Mishnah that you do not agree with their interpretation of the things? I just wanted to ask that question to Brother Eylon.
Well, it depends on what you're asking, and again, we have a myriad of different rabbis and different schools of thought. The idea is that, for instance, when you see Beit Hillel or Beit Shammai, the understanding is that we always go with Beit Hillel. The understanding is not really germane to the point, but the idea of the Talmud, which includes the Mishnah and a lot of other things, is to be an open book. Okay, is to show, just like the prophet showed our sin, is to show everything that goes into building a nation and things like that. Everybody's opinion gets a voice. Some people get more ink than others, and some people's commentaries and explanations are actually explained as not being reliable, just like I said with Beit Hillel versus Beit Shammai, and that's a group of different rabbis and things of that nature. Going back to your thing about Isaiah, it's very clear that Isaiah is writing to the children of Israel, or my forefathers anyways, at a very specific time. Now, if you're saying that if Isaiah is saying that the priests and the scribes and weren't giving correct judgment, and then I'd have to point you to the prophet Malachi, who is also known as Ezra the scribe, peace be upon him, who actually brought the children of Israel, who delivered the children of Israel, for lack of better terms, out of the Babylonian captivity, reinstituted the temple sacrifice, rebuilt the temple, reinstituted the Torah and things of that nature. What we get from Ezra Hanavi Alau Shalom is what we have today. How to pray correctly, how to cantillate the text, how to what will be the standard text or the standard script for Torah scrolls from that point forward. And so a good study on Ezra Hanavi would be very, very beneficial to understanding the different time frames in which our nation has gone through certain issues. Now, if and you're right when you're talking about the idea of marriage with JC, yes, the scribes in that particular verse were very specific for any reason. The answer, yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean that even if you divorce your wife, that she automatically commits adultery if she gets remarried to someone else. The Torah says she cannot go back to her original husband. That's what the written Torah says. The oral Torah, if JC is the oral Torah, he's contradicting that, and that's kind of what my argument is against that.
Yeah, I gotta let Gideon respond. Okay, Gideon.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank the brother Vinny Deep for calling in. I definitely appreciate the perspective that he brought and the information in regards to Isaiah speaking about the judges. I definitely agree with him. And like I said, I appreciate the brother because I've learned some things from him. So, I definitely thank him for giving his time to give a call. So, peace.
All right, Vinny, you can say something real quick. We got to move on. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just one last thing, and thanks for your perspective, Brother Elyon, and also Brother Gideon. Yeah. It's all good, bro. And yeah. So I did want to to say that again. Like, Brother Eylon, I just have a quick question, and then I just want to ask you a follow-up question, and then that's it. It should be pretty short, but so do you agree that the temple was destroyed in 70 A.D. based on historical evidence and the history that we have? Okay. So
sure,
do you also agree that if we were doing what we were supposed to be doing, or, because I proclaim myself to be a Hebrew as well, but do you agree that if we were doing what we were supposed to be doing in terms of like keeping the Torah and everything else, that wouldn't have happened? That, God would have fought for us, or the Most High would have fought for us?
Well, we had this very interesting thing happen with basically Christianity coming on the horizon, and no messianic prophecies were fulfilled at that point in time, and we all went into captivity. So, number one, the Yeshua character did not fulfill any prophecies of being the Messiah. Number one. Number two, if he did exist at any rate, I would have to agree that every single captivity that Israel goes through is from some sort of sin, and there was a large conversion of Hebrews still converting over to being Greeks from the aftermath of the Maccabees, who were uncircumcising themselves, and then we have this movement of people going into this paganism, Messiah worship type of thing as well. So a lot of those things could definitely play in. So anytime the children of Israel go into a captivity, it is because of some sort of sin. Then the Creator raises up a prophet. We can listen or not listen, and either we'll go back into captivity, or we can get right, and the Most High will bring a Savior or Deliverer, and He brings us back into the land again, and then we start this cycle over and over again. That's what has repeated itself over and over again. And so, but this captivity has been 2,000 years long, so still a lot of getting right that we got to do.
I definitely agree with that, and then also, that's why I believe that Yeshua is the Messiah, who was prophesied to come, because he taught that he was solely against the mistreatment of the people, which is the whole narrative of the New Testament, talking about how the elders and the rulers of the people were judging for money and just doing all kind of wicked stuff, which is also evidenced in the Tanakh, where the woman came up and they were going to commit adultery, and they had a lamb and everything. But I gotta go. Thank you, Casey. Right? Okay. All right, brother. Thank you for answering my question, and you guys have a good night.
Shalom, shalom.
All right, let's jump and get this last question real quick, and after that we're gonna get some final statements. 530-763, you're live.
Yo, what's the word? This is B.A. Ben Abraham out of Sacramento. Much love to the brothers on the panel. Most definitely get in. I would just say this. I'll try to be quick. I hear your point, Gideon, and I'm not coming against you, brother. I just think that, to me, if I was to say that Christ was the oral Torah, I most definitely get the point that you were making. But I would just like to say this. According to a lot of people, since those of us who recognize Christ were idolaters, and that's their opinion, and they have yet to prove that. So, to the individual that you were debating, I know in the sages and the rabbis, even I think it's the Talmud, or could be the Zohar, I can't really remember, but they have proof that they have a document of Christ's death certificate as well. And I also most definitely would like to hear you teach something, because you do a lot of talking. So when you get a chance, you step up to the plate. We most definitely would like to hear what's being taught. What's the understanding on Daniel chapter 9? No matter of fact, Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter. You can laugh, because you can laugh, but it's a lot of that you do. But like I said, you do a lot of fat mouthing. So let me finish up, because you had your time to run your mouth. So let me say mine. You can be done, and I'll be done. I want to hear your understanding on the rock that smote the nations, according to your view. Most definitely want to hear Daniel chapter 7, and I would love to hear Daniel chapter 9. You do a lot of talking and a lot of laughing, but like I said, it's all nothing but cheap. Because to be honest, I know you for a fact you can't teach it, because it also says your elders, curse to those that read Daniel. And I've heard various people who you deal with butcher it already. So I know when you try to do it, which I believe that you can't do it, you'll butcher it as well. So my challenge to you is, when you get the opportunity and when you man up to do it, I'll most definitely be listening to your view on the 70 weeks of Daniel. And I'm done.
I'll tell you about my 70 weeks of Daniel number 1. If you want to come from a Christian perspective, it's very simple. The 70 weeks, and you guys think is what, 490 years. Number 1, you're going to be off because the Hebraic calendar has 13 months, and you're going to be off any way you come at it. Obviously, this is not the subject of the debate. It's whether or not Yeshua is the oral Torah, which obviously he's not, because how can you embody an entire body of oral teachings and traditions in one person and leave it in the New Testament, which is, I mean, it's not even like enough pages to even compromise even the Tanakh. So number 1, I do have a lesson on this particular subject, what the oral Torah actually is. I already stated that in the beginning of this particular lesson, where you can find that on Andreas Harris's channel. And some of the other things that you were saying, I mean, it's very very simple that we have commandments in the Torah that people do not want to follow. Okay, and Deuteronomy 17 is a big hurdle for a lot of people to get over. It's very clear, but nobody has an issue with Deuteronomy 18 apparently. But you do have Messianic Hebrews or Messianic Jews or Israelites who actually do follow the oral Torah and see where the oral Torah is in the New Testament. So, I mean, even if they believe that JC is the Messiah, you could believe anybody's Messiah and still be halakhically in tune with the faith. Actually, to be honest with you, but at the end of the day, it's a book that teaches idolatry. And let me, because you said I made an assertion, or we make assertion that you're an idolater. So if we go to, back to Exodus, when we're talking about the 10 Commandments, and the Creator says you should not bow down yourself to them nor serve them. Again, what are these Hebrew idioms that we are talking about? You shall not prostrate yourself to them, neither shall you serve them. What does serve mean? Every Christian group that I've known, they've always said, let's have a prayer service. Let's have a prayer service for this. Let's have a prayer service for that. Hold on a sec. We all know that prayer is also a service of the Creator. So if you're praying in the name of another deity, or praying to another deity, or praying incorrectly, it is not the proper service of the Creator, and therefore it is avodah zarah. It is foreign worship. And guess what? It is also idolatry if you bow down to that particular deity. And so if you worship the God of America, the Christian God, you are in idolatry according to the 10 Commandments of the Holy Torah.
All right, hold on. I think VA wanted to respond. Yeah, then after that, I'm going to let Gideon respond. Go ahead, VA. You can respond.
Like I said, you didn't address anything I said. I said to teach it according to. Like I said, another thing, since we're talking about bowing down and serving, who was the individual? Who was the individual that Joshua bowed down to in the book of Joshua when it was the messenger? Who was that?
Oh, it was a messenger, because that's one of the Hebrew customs. See, bowing down to someone doesn't necessarily mean that you're worshiping that someone.
Get
bow down
here,
and serve. So
out of here, man. You don't know nothing about the Torah, man. You garbage.
I sure do, too. I sure do, too. Get out of here.
All right, hold on. Get in. You can respond real quick, and after that, we get some final statements. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, the brother BA definitely was right as far as how, in their reading of the Torah portions, not only do they run from Daniel 7 and 9, they run from Isaiah 53 as well. They definitely do not read that in their synagogues. Also, the brother, like I say, there's definitely some things that we can glean out of the Talmud, definitely. But would I, go so far as this brother as to say that that is the word of the Most High, which he veils with the word or the term oral Torah, which by definition means the word of the Most High. So, like I say, it's not that, but we definitely can get some things out of it. For instance, it tells us that 40 years before the destruction of the temple, that where the Sanhedrin would meet, which was at the Temple Mount, at the courtyard, which was called I forgot, but it was basically the seat of the government. And the Talmud tells the story how they had to move down to the marketplace amongst the merchants to hold their court because they lost their prestigious position at the temple. So what we know from that, when we read St. Jerome quoting from that, telling the story how the pillar in Jerusalem split and cracked, we see the New Testament is not lying when it said the veil torn in two and it was a great earthquake in the land. The Talmud verified it. It also verifies when the sacrifices were no longer taken. So, it's like I say, the Talmud it's a not deep book but a vast book. Like I say, it's over 6,000 pages, and I'm quite sure the brother hasn't read all of it, but I'm quite sure he read enough of it to know that it's adding to the word of the Most High. He should shun it. But
yeah, unfortunately, Gideon, just gotta let you know, we just lost Eylon on the phone line, and being that we're in the overtime part of the show, there's no way he can call back in at this time. Unless he has somebody on three-way, he can three-way back in, but I don't see that. So, unfortunately, we lost Eylon right now. So, to be fair, since he's not here, I guess we could just refrain from getting into the final statements for now. But I guess I give you some little last words to say to the people before we sign off.
Well, I just want to say, speaking of losses, we talk about a real loss. I want to say rest in peace to the brother Nipsey Hussle who lost his life. We all trying to find a way to help our people to better our situation, and the brother definitely did do a lot of things in the right direction. And to anybody out there that's part of the Israelite nation, speaking down on this man's name because he's a Hamite or supposedly he's a Hamite, to those type of people, I say you separate yourself from, because that's hatred that, that's going to get you dealt with in this life or definitely in the next life to come. Whether the brother was a Hamite or an Israelite, he definitely tried to better himself every day, and he helped the people around him, and he was destroyed by the very people he was helping. So, I just want to say rest in peace to that brother. Prayers for his family, and hopefully we can learn something from this.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. Rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. That's all over the news, all over the media. So yeah, man. Tragic event that went down, but they found the killer, right? They found the killer. So, I guess justice will be served. And yeah, man, it's a sad situation. But yeah, man, anything you want to put out there as far as your websites, whatever, we lost, again, family, we lost Eylon. It's called Dropped. And in the overtime part of the show, if you're not on another line, you can't call back in, Block Talk Radio. That's how it is. Which the overtime part of the show is a wrap. But do you have any websites, anything that you want to promote, let people know how to follow you or email you? Let that out there, and we can wrap it up pretty much. And fellas, we have another debate tomorrow. Josh and Kalaya is going down tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Make sure you check that out. But gotta get in.
Yeah, do you know the title of that debate?
Yeah, let me go to it again. I read it earlier, but good. I'll read it out.
I just if you want to find me on, you can find me on Facebook, Gideon Israel. I have a page also, Valley of the Dry Bones. The word of the is one word, so you can find it there. And right now I'm just letting the Most High lead me and direct me. Trying to get strong every day, and just trying to see how I can, by my part, bring the body of the Most High together. And that's all I'm doing. Like I said, Facebook. You can hit me up, Gideon Israel at gmail.com. And peace to the people. Thank you for your time, and thank you, Sal. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt. And the title of that debate tomorrow, for those who want to tune in, is Does the Melchizedek priesthood supersede the Levitical priesthood? Once again, does the Melchizedek priesthood supersede the Levitical priesthood? Is going down 8 p.m. Eastern Time right here on Debate Talk Free Radio. All right, so see you guys next time. Take care, and y'all bless.